this time, and since no one's identified in the agenda to give the prayer, then I'm going to ask Gary if he would.
Yeah,
open
it's
the
on
prayer.
the agenda. That's on the agenda.
Is it?
It is.
Well, I'm looking at it right now.
Gary Velding.
Oh, look at my copy. That's right hot off the internet right there. Oh, never mind. All right.
All right, meeting.
My bad.
So in word of prayer. We come before you, our gracious God, tonight. We thank you for the beautiful weather we have today, but we also ask, Lord, that you may bring rain. It's been very dry, and many of our farmers are struggling. Pray that you may supply the rain as needed. Thank for the sunshine, but we also know we need that too. We come before you tonight in this meeting. We pray that you may give us wisdom and discernment in decisions that we make. Not only as a township board, Lord, may you be with our president, our Congress, our governor, our representatives in the state. Be with our county commissioners, O Lord, and those that run the county and right down to our township. We ask that you may be with each and every one of them, give them all they stand in need of. May they make decisions, O Lord, that are discerning. May they glorify you in all that is done and said. We pray, O Lord, for our armed forces, O Lord. We pray for our police and our fire department and our first responders. Give them safety, O Lord. Continue to be with our DPW as they too work on the roadsides and in the roads and different things that they do. Continue to be with all our township employees. May you bless them, strengthen them, and give them all they stand in need of. Keep us from sin now, Lord, for many sins, those that we're aware of and those that we are not. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right, I am going to handle the roll call duties tonight. All are present except for Kelly, and she'll be joining us here in a little bit. She had a meeting to be at, and so we've got a quorum, and we'll continue. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
There's so moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. I'd make one comment, but I don't think it requires an amendment. But Ms. Wenzel is here tonight, and I did promise her that I would have her be able to address us on the front end, so she wouldn't need to stay for the whole meeting. So we'll call her 6A, but really, I don't think we need to make it a point. Okay?
I wanted to mention too, 7 would be 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody read that strategic improvement plan
Mm-hmm.
of the Ottawa County Road Commission, and then 7-5 Ottawa County ARPA projects. I thought that was an interesting read, and the money, how it was spent in the county through ARPA. I was still very disappointed how the funds went to a lot of social programs and very little infrastructure. And
Perhaps Ms. Wenzel can shed a little bit of light on that tonight.
it's worth reading through. It really is.
Okay. Anyone else wish to either highlight something or?
Well, I was looking at 7-4 also with that SIP, strategic improvement plan there too, and I noticed that in the 5-year plan, we still don't have nothing that we discussed with the Ottawa County here a month or so ago about doing anything with the worst intersection in Ottawa County, which is Cottonwood and Baldwin. There's a lot of roundabouts, a lot of bridges, a lot of culverts, a lot of roads, but there was nothing on that, and I think maybe they'd like to have us submit a letter by middle of September, and I think that might not be a bad idea to see if we can get that on the agenda somewhere to do some improvements on that.
Mm-hmm. Does the board feel it needs to be an agenda item, or should we address that under board discussion and with some question and answer possibly with Ms. Wenzel and might it? Yeah.
There's actually a couple things on Utilities Committee tonight that we'll be bringing up
Okay.
that we talked about.
Tying in with what Gene's talking about?
Yes, that and Parsons is not on there, which is another street that we dealt with. So we're going to be, I sent an email to Justin, and tonight on Utilities, we'll have to cover a few of those things too that
Okay,
I picked up on too that were missed.
that's good.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Well, if a letter originates out of that, I'm happy to sign it, or Justin could sign it, right?
Yep.
Send it on, all right? Okay, all in favor of the agenda tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. Item 6 is Jonathan Haas here. Jonathan, come on forward. Appreciate you coming tonight, and feel free to address the board.
Of course, yeah. The reason why I'm here is I made an unfortunate decision on the night of July 4th. with a few other people. We destroyed a porta-john with fireworks, and I'm here now to, publicly apologize to, the city and whatnot. I paid for the damages to replace the porta potty, and instantly when like the next morning, I'm like, dang, I really regret that. It was a stupid decision. It's not, who I am to like go out and like cause trouble, and and I just want to, apologize to you guys and just know that nothing like this with me or anything like that's ever gonna happen again. It's not what I'm about, and I'm just hoping we can clear the slate.
You bet. Apology accepted.
Thank you.
Yeah. And restitution appreciated.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyone among the board?
Tough to address us. I'm sure you're worried about this,
Right. Yeah.
but it means an incredible amount to us that you're willing to come forward and very graciously talk to us about this. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Now let it go. All right. It's part of forgiveness. You got to let it go.
Yep.
Don't beat yourself up.
you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
All right. And you're welcome to stay or go. That's up to you. Okay?
Awesome. Man.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks for coming. There you go. And I said at this time we'd have Kendra Wenzel, one of our 2 county commissioner representatives. Yep. Good night. Come forward at this time, give us an update from the county, and perhaps take a question or 2 if people have them. So thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. And I do apologize. I did just some basic updates, but I didn't plan on attending due to our daughter. So if I could get together with you or get with the ARPA funding, I didn't bring my notes for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could get together with you and we could speak about that, that would be awesome if you're okay with that.
Sure. And if you came back even next time and wanted to address us all,
Sure.
you'd be welcome a second time. So whatever you please. Yeah. Okay.
Just a couple of updates. Our county administrator search update, we relaunched that for our next administrator. We continue to grow, and we are facing a lot of challenges in the county as far as we want to have collaboration, stability, trust, and all of that. So that's what we're looking for. We'd also like to lead with integrity and independence, bring clarity, strategic direction, and an apolitical person to our county with a collaborative spirit for the organization. We're looking for 10 or more years of executive local government leadership experience with a master's degree preferred. The deadline to apply for that was today at 5 p.m. So that will be coming up. We broke ground on our new veterans facility. That was on July 1st, and it's our first ever dedicated facility for veterans. I was excited to be a part of that. It's been a fun journey to watch this come through to fruition. It will give our local veterans access to critical services. We had keynote remarks from myself and U.S. Representative Hillary Skolton, as well as our Vice Chair Josh Bruger. The new facility is slated for completion this fall and is a purpose-built modern space that will enhance the experience and privacy of veterans seeking assistance. It's a very welcoming and calm atmosphere. There's rooms where they can go off and they can talk with people where they're not out in the public, and there's also a community space that they will have for everyone. It was slated to have showers and a laundry facility, but I'm not certain that they have decided to bring that. I think that's kind of still up in the air. It was approved for that, though. And then it's going to have private screening rooms for VA claims and benefit consultations, individual staff offices to allow more personalized service, comfortable veterans lounge to foster community and connection, which I think is very important with our vets, self-help computer stations for accessing benefits and resources, and fully equipped conference rooms for support groups, community events, and outreach programming. Brownfield grants available this fall, and mid-May, we were awarded $500,000 U.S. EPA Brownfield grant. This grant funding can be used for environmental assessments and plannings for the cleanup of contaminated properties. Private entities, nonprofits, and government organizations are eligible for the grants as long as they're not responsible for any of the contamination. A press release will go out when the Ottawa County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority is ready to accept applications, which will likely be fall of 2025. In the meantime, the board welcomes questions or input from the community regarding properties that would be ideal for redevelopment assessment. And then a fun event, Farms Are the Tapas. That is coming up September 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. And it's the annual chef's competition dinner, a silent auction to raise funds for Ottawa County's farmland preservation program. It's set to be at the Red Shed and Bar 53 Event Center and Centennial Farm. There'll be tapas. They'll be celebrating the farming heritage and ensuring its continued success. You'll be able to enjoy dishes featuring locally sourced ingredients, and you get to vote for your favorite. And then you have an opportunity to bid on auction items. So if anybody wants any information on that, I do have the web address where you can go to for that to get tickets. Our Veterans Stand Down and Resource Fair it's our second annual one, and that's going to be September 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Centennial Park Place. That's 421 Columbus Avenue in Grand Haven, in case anybody's wondering. It's designed to connect veterans and their families with essential services, support, and community resources in one centralized location. And then ways to get involved or to engage. We have if you want to come to a meeting, you can come to our actual Board of Commissioner meetings. And you can check miottawa.org and scroll to the bottom of that page, and there's a calendar that gives all the dates, all the meetings for everybody. It starts and ends with public comment. Each person gets 3 minutes for that, so if anybody wants to come and make a public comment, you're welcome to. And you can also watch it on YouTube. They can be watched on YouTube, and you can call in for a public comment as well. If you want to contact your county commissioner, email addresses and phone numbers are also available at myottawa.org. We do have a Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where you can. And if you'd like to subscribe for our Ottawa County e-news, you can go to miottawa.com/subscribe. Something new is we have the Listen to Ottawa Out Loud podcast, and you can find that on Spotify. That's been kind of fun. It's also on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts. And then be on the lookout for open board and commission positions. So that was just my quick update.
Great.
All right.
Anyone?
I have a question for her. Has the Georgetown Library ever gotten money from the Ottawa County Speeding Ticket Fund for libraries? I heard that Zeeland and Holland have, but once again, nothing for Georgetown that I've heard about. So how do we know if we're getting any part of that?
I will check into that for you and get back with you. I can send you an email.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can do it this week.
Okay, thank you.
Have you contributed?
Thankfully not. They'll vouch for me.
I did.
Does the county take a position on, so they're big into trying to preserve farms?
I'm sorry.
Well, the county seems to is big in preserving farms, but yet I see these battery plants coming into the county. I see these solar. So it seems like it's counterproductive to have those come in. That's taking away farmland.
I agree.
But yet, and I know part of it is with the new zoning that the governor has put in place to be difficult. I know Bundon's got a huge problem coming up. But I'm just wondering if the county's taking a stance on that, or if they've actually been working with SLOG or Victory and going, listen, this is counterproductive what we're trying to do as a county.
I did actually go to that meeting in Blending
Did you?
Township. And Allison went, and Joe Moss went, I believe. I was kind of disheartened. I thought it was going to be where everybody would be able to ask them questions and have responses. It was not that at all. What they did is they had little stations where you could go around and read, but there was no back and forth. And you could ask one question, but no one got to hear that question. So I talked with all three of the gentlemen that were running it, and I said, why everyone was expecting a back and forth question session. Can you explain why you didn't do that? And he said, well, we find that doesn't work well. And I said, I bet it doesn't. Just because you have to be held accountable. And he said, it works better to just talk to individuals one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And I said, but who is that better for? Is that better for you as a corporation or for Blendon Township? And he said, well, that's up for debate. And so I strongly encourage them, if they're going to do this, to have a back and forth conversation, because you can ask one question and the entire room gets the answer, not just that one person. So I think it's much more informational that way. I disagree with it. I hope that it doesn't happen. There's a woman that's property backs up to that facility where it's going to be. She has, I believe it's 800 head of cattle, and you can't put out a battery fire. It has to burn itself out.
Right.
And the plume from that goes from 3 to 5 miles and 3 to 8 miles, but you have to evacuate. And she would lose her entire livelihood because she can't evacuate 800 head of
Right.
cattle. So there's supposed to be a few more meetings on that I'm going to attend as well, but I agree with you on that.
I just wonder if the county is taking a position on it.
I don't know as a whole, those that I have talked to do not agree with it, but we haven't talked about it as a group, which,
I think it's time.
yes,
Because they're going to pick off these small townships because they don't have the money to fight. I've seen it. I'm on the planning commission. I've seen it coming.
well, and there was a $200,000, I think incentive is what it was called, and then another $500,000 payment that was supposed to come later that was for specific things. But I think that doesn't go over well with the constituents there because they feel like it's kind of a payoff. There's a lot of questions, a lot of things that need to be answered.
Yeah.
Are the brownfield parcels at all part of what they're targeting for the uses Gary's talking about, or are they not? Should I not conflate the two? Okay.
No,
Oh,
All right.
no.
How many applicants, if you know, have applied for county administrator?
48.
How many?
48.
48. I'm sorry if you said that already. That's quite a few. Okay.
We're supposed to pare that down and then have a closed session as well. We have not had a final decision on how we will discuss it. We're supposed to be picking up our packets on each individual, but I prefer to have an open discussion for the public so that we can, and just use applicant numbers, not names, and not mention like a city where they're from or a state or whatever where they're from, so we can keep their names confidential until we get further into the interviews. But I personally would like it to be a question session for the entire, anybody in Ottawa County that wants to be involved and wants to learn and hear. So we'll see. That hasn't been decided.
the whole 48?
No, that will be pared down
Oh,
before we get there. Yep.
you're going to be at a long time if you're going to try to question 48.
Yes.
Right.
No, that will be pared down before we get to
I mean,
that.
10 years
Point.
experience and a master's degree. That's kind of a surprising number that you got.
Mhm.
Desirable position, I guess.
We had a ton last time too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
We'll see. Hopefully, it is my hope that it will be someone that's unifying across the board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, Kendra, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Just to mention, we've got our fire department here tonight. We're going to be talking about what's going to happen with EMS because of the sheriff's department and how we're going to fill this gap. And right now, we've got some of the biggest challenges since I've been on the board with the fire department, with our water.
Mhm.
And then we also have the soccer fields over in Hudsonville, and we're discussing what's going to happen there, and it may be a chance you might be asked to vote on something related to that. If you have a chance where you could sit with Justin and just talk over some of these really major issues, because I
I'd love
think
that.
you're going to be involved in it,
Yeah, I'd love that.
and it would help us tremendously.
But it
Appreciate
would help me just to be more informed. I would like that.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
he'll pay for lunch.
You've been volunteered. Or what, voluntold, I think that's called. Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
Thanks for coming, Kendra. Thank
Go
you.
tend to your daughter, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, item 7, communication letters and reports. I know a couple of you made comments on those already. So this has been received for information. Item 8, public comment for action items remaining on tonight's agenda. Anyone wishing to address the board may approach the mic, identify your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. So welcome. And again, Kendra, you may slip out whenever. I don't want you to feel, yeah.
Well. Mike Bosch, 3245 Golden Oak Court. I had a couple questions on the budget and a couple other agenda items as well. First one is 11, revision to the policy. I just would like some I'm sure everybody would like clarification. Does that mean per meeting you're going to get paid? So like utilities coming up, now it's going to turn into, I'm not sure what the $80 per meeting, so 80 for this, and they'd get 80 for that as well? I'm just looking for clarification, because it sounds like a little, if that's the case, it's a little hidden pay raise there. Second item, number 13, Maplewood and Rush Creek Park Sporting Courts. It looks like $25,000 going to, I don't know, Hubble, Roth, and Clark. And wasn't it just 3 years ago that we paid Amy or Trustee Grassman's friend, I think it was $25,000 to come up with some plans for 8th Avenue for pickleball courts? So now we're going to be another 50 in. So I'd like clarification on that. I do think it's very smart to try it a couple at a time. Put 2 at Maplewood, see how it goes. If it's popular, maybe in a year or 2, add 2 more to a different park. No need to rush in. We don't need to spend $2 million, which is what's budgeted for pickleball. I think that's putting the cart ahead of the horse, kind of like what happened to 8th Avenue when we paid $25,000 and found out it's in a floodplain. So that's not good. Got to take our time on these things, ease into it nice and slow. The other thing that doesn't make sense, I noticed in April, the board made a decision to do away with charging non-residents an entry fee to Maplewood, which we're going through tens of thousands of gallons every week, I'm not sure, maybe even a day, at the cost of the taxpayers for people who don't even live here to come and use it. Yet our rates are going up. So that when we implemented that, that was to kind of justify the expenses of operating it, fixing vandalism, maintaining it, employees. And now that's been done away with. Now I wonder, is that because it would eliminate non-residents for coming and playing pickleball? So is this a pickleball motive? I'm curious. It just seems a little strange. What's worse is you put in pickleball, now everybody's going to be coming there and parking, non-residents, to play pickleball, and our residents who are coming there to bring their kids can't even find a parking spot for the splash pad. It doesn't make sense, but I mean, that's par for the course. Second question on the actual number 14, the 2026 draft budget discussion. Senior center, transportation, holy smokes, it's getting up there. I know it's bad, and I tried to fix that when I was on the board. But at this point, in 2026, we are subsidizing that program, we the taxpayers, $500,000. So I'm not sure, I think the membership was 800 or something. So what is it, like $625 per member? And over 30% of them don't even live in Georgetown? So it's one thing when we subsidize our own seniors, but at that price, we could literally pay them to go to a different one. I'll finish in the next comment.
Okay. All right, anyone else wish to address the board at this time?
Pete Plowman, Georgetown Precinct 13.
I need your address, sir, Pete.
I read the rule before I got here. If I don't give you my address, I have to sit down?
It's our rule.
You're not going to let me
We just
speak?
need a street address.
I'm sorry?
We just need your street address.
I don't want to give you my street address. I want to give you my political address. And if I can't do that, are you asking me to sit down?
Do you have a street name that we can identify?
I still don't want to, in these days and times when people go and do things to your house, I don't want to do that.
All right, well, I don't precisely know the rule about whether or not identifying the precinct versus the
Our ordinance says you have to.
Look up on the Georgetown Policies and Procedures, TB 2015-03, Section C.
Why don't you read it to us?
And it says, doesn't say street address. It says address. I'm giving you my political address.
It says address, and you're thinking that's not specific enough.
It's my choice, is it not?
I don't think so.
Okay, then are you asking me to sit down so I can't speak?
I'm asking you to identify your address.
I gave you Georgetown Precinct 13.
Someone who's quoted to me how many bathrooms I have in my house, I think you know public information's out there. Why should we have to chase it?
Well, you have 7 bathrooms in your house on 17 acres.
It was wrong.
Multi-million-dollar home. Yes.
Wrong, but thank you.
Know that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm going to ask you to sit down. Thanks.
Sit down?
Yeah,
Okay, thank
thanks.
you.
Anyone else? Anyone? Okay, hearing none, we'll close that public comment period. Item number 9, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, any comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And it passes. Item 10, Georgetown Fire Department Cadet Program Resolution. I know we have Chief here with a summary, and he presented that to us at Finance as well.
Yeah, Georgetown Township Fire Chief Matt DeWitt. We'd like to partner with Caroline Tech Center. There's some kids in our township that would like to attend the fire academy. They're going to host a fire academy at Caroline Tech for Ottawa County. Those kids need a host fire department that will allow them to participate in the academy. The reason why is some of the kids are not 18. So they're between 17 and 18 typically. So with us being a host, this will allow them, state will allow them to attend the academy. I think this is a great program, very educational for them. They also can participate with working with our fire department so we can help them get the skills to pass the academy test at the end of the year. So we think it's a win-win for everybody. So we need the resolution signed that will allow the state to allow them to attend the academy. So, and this also potentially we could recruit them. Sure.
How many kids do you have about?
We got 6 in Georgetown area.
Oh, that's good.
All the fire departments in the area are in the same boat we are tonight, looking to adopt resolutions to allow their kids and their communities to be able to participate in the program.
And Chief, didn't you say that those who get involved are more likely to join either paid-on-call fire departments or fire departments full-time?
Absolutely.
Statistically?
Yeah, these
right out
kids-
of high school sometimes?
Yeah, these kids are vetted by the school system that they want to follow this as a career. So in a day and age when fire staffing is hard to come by, you have a potential to hire somebody right out of high school. So I got on at 18. So
And now you're 20, how-
23.
no cost to us, as I
no
understand
cost to us
it.
and no liability. Liability is held by the Caroline Tech Center. So if they do come to our facilities and they're practicing and doing skills training, it's all covered by the Tech Center.
Sounds like an easy one.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think, did he step up before we had a motion made?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution supporting a fire chief or fire cadet Explorer program as recommended by Finance Committee. Support.
Okay, moved and
Support.
supported. I think, Kevin, you were first there.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Opposed?
Roll call.
Okay, roll call. All right. I'll start to my right. John?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Amy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
All right, passes 6-0. Item 11, this is the Board of Trustees Compensation and Benefits Policy Revision related to meetings. This came out of Finance. Is there a motion to approve the proposed revisions related to compensation or per diem for certain meetings?
So move.
Support.
And moved and supported. Discussion among the board.
Can we, I came up that second paragraph on that thing. Can we make an amendment to that motion maybe? It does say, as examples, WCTV. If we're cleaning this up, can we also clean up that second paragraph to take that out of there?
Sure. Sure.
I don't know if that needs to be added to the motion or whatever, but.
So you're moving to revise it to that degree, right? Okay. Anybody support that amendment to the motion? Support. Okay. Any comments? Okay, calling for the vote on the amendment to the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, with the motion now amended before you, any comments? I know this pertains to trustees only, and the impetus behind it. Anyone wishes to share how this has arisen?
I believe Justin had talked to Manette and asked Manette how this happened. And I guess it was back in 2006. And at that time, the township meetings themselves were very short, 15, 20 minutes, and they were often done with their township meetings. And then there would be a follow-up meeting, and that's when this resolution was passed. Since then, the meetings go much, much longer. And then with the meetings that follow, as our township has grown, the responsibilities have. And that's why this proposal was put forward. Because as you're looking at this, the responsibilities have grown dramatically. And you have a meeting that you have to prepare for that there's no compensation at all.
All right. Anyone else?
I don't even know what I get paid.
What's that?
I don't even know what I get paid.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we have not changed the pay in years and years.
Yeah.
So, all right, it's a equity or fairness issue. Anybody else wish to address? Hearing none? It's a policy revision. I don't see that it calls for roll call, but you think it requires it?
In doubt, do a roll call.
All right, I'll call roll starting to my left this time. Kevin?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
I'll vote a yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
All right, it's passed. Item 12, then, public hearings. First of all, a hearing and resolution for Golden Grounds Coffee LLC for their liquor license application. Is there a motion to open a public hearing on that application?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The public hearing is open on this request for a liquor license. I do see our applicant here. Welcome.
It was great meeting with some of you. Okay, awesome. Yes, I was going to say, one of kind of the, I did send to board email address a little packet. I've realized kind of one of the needs of when we spoke with the financial board was that kind of a visual representation of where we were, was kind of needed. So I'm not sure. Hold up, but if not, I can just keep talking. So yes, we are looking to add a liquor license. As you can see, this is our location over here. We are the borough. We are located right on the corner of the township, as you guys kind of mentioned, on the corner of 42nd Avenue. And we opened just about a year and a half ago. We've been kind of rocking and rolling since then with a menu of smash burgers, paninis, kind of European cafe style with a coffee menu, fresh acai bowls. We kind of take an emphasis on bringing kind of healthier foods in a sit-down location to that kind of corner of township that's kind of lacking in a little more food options. So in the past year and a half or so, we have kind of heard from the community and coming out that a beer or a glass of wine has been something that would enhance their experience as they were sitting with a smash burger or a panini, whether that be, for a bagel sandwich and a mimosa or a, beer and a burger. But that is something that we've kind of heard from our community and realized is something that would be beneficial to our financial standings as we've kind of gone through our last year and a half as well. So we kind of are looking to get approval from that, to seek approval from that from you guys so that we can move forward to the next steps with that. I know that there were a couple of questions that we kind of discussed at our last meeting with those of you who were there. Regarding kind of what our menu was, what our seating was. So I do have a couple of kind of pictures of what that was. I know a couple of you guys were able to kind of swing by, and we super appreciate you guys coming and swinging out. But this is, again, kind of a picture of our building. If you click through, there's going to be a couple more pictures that give you an idea of our seating area and kind of what that feels. So you'll see we have like a nice patio area and then a sit-down area as well. And then if you kind of keep scrolling, I know that for the township here, you guys have made, put an emphasis on how important food is and how adding liquor to food sales rather than promoting a full bar. And so I did want to kind of just emphasize, I know that you people kind of look at us and think coffee, but really we're so much more than that, and our sales are there to kind of show that. As well. And then if you kind of keep going, when we add the liquor in, we don't by any means want to go full bar with it. We're really just looking to enhance that food part of our menu again with the glass of wine or a beer. And so I kind of added a sample menu there of some cocktails, set wine, set beer list, but an emphasis that we're not looking to become a shots bar. We're not looking to pour anything on the rocks or do any sort of bottle service. We're also not looking to extend our hours extensively at all. As of right now, we're open just until 7 o'clock, and we're really just looking to extend that through dinner time, but no later. We've got some food pictures on the bottom as well. And then we just another emphasis on our control plan. All of our staff will be tip certified, and we do intend on scanning all IDs just to kind of negate any of that.
Because you have the college.
Exactly.
Like you're right on the edge of the
So
college.
we will have a,
that's
a
good.
strict enforced policy.
Mhm.
All of our staff members will be forced on how to serve, how much to serve, when to cut off serving, all of those types of things. And that will be heavily enforced as all of our other operating procedures. Any other questions about?
Well, 70% of your sales are food right now.
Yep. We're sitting at about 70%, and we really are looking at,
I better jump up. Go ahead. No, you go.
we're really just looking at liquor as something to, raise our sales of our food as well, entice people to, we don't really have a reason to be open past 7 o'clock right now, and we're really looking to get people past the door in those evening hours to enjoy dinner and using that as an emphasis. This is my co-owner.
Yeah, we're partners. So I'm Brian Gardner. My family's owned Campus View since 1966. It's right next to the borough. And just in case you're thinking college kids and alcohol going crazy, it won't happen because it will denigrate our experience of working at Campus View. This is going to be a casual dining, drink with your meal, not late night bar. That's not what we're doing here, and we think it will enhance both the community and our business, and that's what we're looking to do. It will not be a late night in any way, shape, or form, and the hours won't be extended.
And you
It
own
doesn't serve my core business is Campus View.
the Campus View Apartments.
Campus View.
You own those. You have this. So that would be a concern of yours if it were to be.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is meant to supplement and amplify the enjoyment of living there, not interfere with the peaceful enjoyment of my tenants, and it will not be allowed. It's not in my interest.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Thank you.
She did a great job.
She's the boss.
Great job at the Finance Committee meeting, by the way.
I just wanted to be here.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about anything that I can answer?
No, I read through it all. You've been very thorough.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
The public hearing is still open. Anyone else wish to address the board on this petition or application? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Support.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Public hearing is closed. Now, is there a motion to approve the issuance of this liquor license to Golden Grounds Coffee?
So move.
Support.
Supported, okay. Comments? Questions?
Did a wonderful job at Finance, very detailed. And Justin said she met all the requirements that we have. I think also having the owner come in here carries a lot of weight. And the fact that you're close by, and it would actually hurt your business if it were to go in another direction.
Sure. And if you're thinking, I guess, board members, that if he doesn't own it forever, I mean, what about the next owner and that sort of thing? Every year we look at our liquor licenses that have been issued and reapprove.
Right.
Of course, there's a measurement or test as it relates to sale of food and alcohol. So there's, it seems you're going nowhere. It seems you're going nowhere.
I'm glad to know what it is now that I drove by on my way to Grand Valley's tennis courts.
Yeah.
Now I know what it is.
It's beautiful.
It was always closed when I got there at I don't know, nothing was there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's very pretty.
It's really, yeah.
Justin, did you eat there? Is anybody eating there?
Andy and I went both to the establishment, and we talked to Hannah, and we had a great time, great experience, and I wish I had 25 more of these in the township, so.
He doesn't wish that, but.
Franchise.
I was just reading the second to last paragraph from the attorney that said the township must approve the allocation of school license. You surely shouldn't say that to a Frisian. Don't tell us must. I'm sorry. You gotta be a little careful how you word that stuff. So, but yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's roll call.
It's a roll call.
Roll call vote. This time, I think I'm going to start this way. John?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Amy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
All right. Congratulations.
Kelly?
Welcome. All right. Item 13, Maplewood and Rush Creek Park Sporting Courts. Is there a motion to approve of contracting with Hubble, Roth, and Clark for construction documents and bidding?
I will make a motion to approve it.
Okay, moved. Support, moved and supported. All right. This, I can say, City on Services, thank you all for coming. Yep.
Thank you.
City on Services, we have been proceeding, as you know, down this road of these improvements in these two parks. We received a higher bid than I think expected as it related to some of the preparation work and planning. And so we went back to bids to see if we could do better. And we've done, I think, maybe a third of what we might have been looking at. So it's a more efficient outcome. Questions, comments?
I am still on the struggle to approve this because, we hired this guy as a consultant, and apparently he was an expert in what he does, and yet we can't get a number of what these things are. I mean, I'm sorry. Pickleball court is basically concrete, fence, and grass seed. It shouldn't be that difficult to figure out what's going to cost to put these things in. And I'm not seeing a not-to-exceed number. It seems like we're just throwing some more money at this thing, and
Are you referring now to 8th Avenue and conflating that? Because this is with Maplewood and River.
I think you should be able to get a bid on. Tell me what's going to cost to build these things,
Right.
and we can't seem to get it.
These are basketball, refinishing tennis court, pickleball court, multi-use court. I mean, this is not a pure pickleball question. I know that was more elusive to me, but I think this seems more concrete, pardon the pun, but I mean, I think it's more straightforward, and we did have good estimates of what it would be, but I think it was just too costly to work with.
We haven't,
The person-
I've asked for 3 different types of surfaces without going to post tension, just go to a regular 6-inch slab, or that type of a concrete, and you just can't get an answer. I'm sorry, we just don't get answers. And we did spend money for him to come back, give us some ideas on this, and it just seems like he always wants to go the BMW way on everything we do. And I'm in construction, and I do this every day. I bid a lot more work than he probably does, and I just don't see that being that difficult. I really don't.
I think, maybe I'm wrong, I mean, services and others, or even Justin, I think we're missing or conflating two things, because here we've got talking about some parking lot, we're talking about some multi-use court, we're talking about, basketball court and so on. I don't think we've had, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've had trouble getting good estimates. It's who we want to work with, yeah.
So we had to take a step back from where we were from 2 months ago when we approved a do not exceed cost. Once we get that approved, the number that they came back to do this was $93,000. And my comment to the engineer was that that voids our policy of anything more than $20,000, I have to bid out. So then that's where I took the step back. I put together an RFP. I went to different engineers who are in this field, and I got this number back to basically see the numbers, what it's going to cost for the pickleball courts.
But to Gary's underlying point, then, we earlier approved of an
Yes.
estimated budget, so that's been estimated and approved by this board, but we went back to the drawing board as it related to who would work with us on that.
Correct. And in the end, this will cost money, but it could have cost way more, and I put the brakes on it.
But your comments, I think, are probably still forthcoming, meaning, you know, if there's work to be done at 8th Avenue, that hasn't made its way here. That was where I think we were really focused on what you're talking about.
It was, but even at Rush Creek in the last time, I said, you know, why aren't we getting a number, what's gonna cost to put 6-inch concrete pad down for these things instead of post tension? And I get this, yeah, we can do that, but we never do. I'm sorry, I just don't think Brian's capable of putting a number together to something and actually come up with something other than what he wants. And he wants a Taj Mahal. And I'm like, this makes no sense to me. This is what I do for a living. And I'm like, I don't understand why it's so difficult. If this is what you do every day, you do pickleball courts, you should have these numbers in the back of your head. It's what you do. I mean,
Yeah.
I bid buildings all the time, and I'm like, I can kind of give you an idea what it's going to cost. Because right now, you don't have a not-to-exceed number. And the problem with that is you're going to turn this over to engineering, and so what are they engineering? Are they going to engineer post-tension concrete? Are they going to engineer a 6-inch slab? Are they going to engineer whatever they want to? Are they going to do whatever they, I mean, to me, there's no end game on the thing. If you come to me and say, I want you to build me a house, you don't say to me, just go and draw something and I'll accept it. I say to you, what do you want to spend? Well, I don't want to exceed $450,000. Okay, these are the plans that we can build a house for $450,000. We have a not-to-exceed number. I never see this here. All I ever see is, let's throw money at this thing, and hopefully we'll get what we want. And I'm like, this is foreign to me. I don't see this type of thing being
What
done.
we want, that is, we're moving away from Brian, who you just alluded to. And the person coming in has to work with what we previously approved a couple of months back or whatever it was in terms of the dollar amount. And so they can't build the Taj Mahal, right? They know what they have to work with.
Scaled a lot of stuff back and taken out stuff.
But I think that dollar amount was way up here. And I said that. I think we can do this cheaper. And now we're engineering. I'm like, oh, so what, are we going with this dollar amount that we approved? Or is he coming up with different scenarios of different price points? And I don't think they are. I think we continue to move down this road and it's still up here. And I think somebody's just blowing smoke when I say there's cheaper ways to do this and I'm not seeing that number. Nobody wants to give me that number because they're convinced we're going to have these high-end pickleball courts. And I just don't get it. I don't.
Again, Gary, I respectfully, I think you're conflating those two things because what we had up here that we approved was not up here. It was a reduced budget, multi-use type setup so that we wouldn't have multiple surfaces, at least at Rush Creek.
Right.
And it was doing away with, you know, the sand area at Maplewood. And it isn't, I mean, in fairness to what we approved already, it was not up here.
No, but there's also nothing in that said how it's going to be made. And the difference between pouring a 6-inch slab and post tension is a difference in money.
Can you get that
That's what I keep
information,
asking the
Justin?
questions.
Post tension, it's just concrete.
Just concrete.
Just concrete.
And I remember having the conversation that we had asked them to potentially quote just the standard concrete with extra thickness. I think we had a regular concrete slab and then an extra thick concrete slab. So that, you know, this number here, essentially to contract with this engineering firm to prepare bid documents, right? And so the engineering design on this length by width concrete pad, and then you prepare a cross section, you know, they can prepare a cross section of what we want to see, and then they can have an alternate in the bid documents that says provide an alternate price for extra width or reinforced concrete. I think that's where we had left it, but I just don't think we've crossed that bridge yet. So I would say as a part of this conversation being had tonight, we should be instructing then Hubble, Roth, and Clark, should we move forward with them to prepare engineered, you know, construction documents to provide us with both of those numbers.
Because that's what I never see. I never see a bid scope.
Yeah. And
And
I
I deal
don't,
every day with bid scopes, lots of bid scopes. That's what you do. This is what you bid, what you're bidding, how you're bidding it.
I'm with you. I look at bid documents all the time, and I do think it's common to provide an alternate. So I do think it's fair to say, draw it this way and then provide an alternate number 2. We might be surprised that maybe that alternate is shockingly more expensive or not that much more expensive. And then with your knowledge, you can instruct us on the value add on those 2 different levels, I think. I think that's where we're headed.
I still think we got the cart before the horse in some of this stuff. I just don't.
I think we did previously, and we had to back that cart up, and now we're here backed up to say, let's find a more reasonable engineering company to work with, a reasonable engineering cost. And maybe that number will change based on the scope that we've discussed tonight.
Because
So,
even now, what is the bid scope for engineering? What are they going to do? Are they just going to draw? Are they going to do soil borings? Are they going to do, are they going to check with the DEQ? Are they going to find drainage issues? What does this engineering include? Are we going to see topos for drainage and where the water's going to go around these courts? I mean, to me, there's not even a bid tab for them. There could be the difference between the high dollar number between one and another. One's going to do a lot more work. I don't know, because I don't know what the bid tab looks like. There's not even a bid tab for the engineering.
The services on this bid, does this not cover that, what you're asking for, scope of services? Something different, because it says coordinate facility kickoff meeting, review selected surface materials and site amenities, completion of the site topographic survey, preparation of engineering plans. So, it's basically, this is not to exceed $15,970 for this site, and this is just Rush Creek. So proposal here is Howell Clark is pleased to provide the proposal for completing professional engineering design surfaces to resurface 2 tennis courts, 1 basketball court, install 2 new pickleball courts with a concrete plaza area and site amenities. So, and then scope of service provided for the $15,970 covers those items. Overall site layout, detailed grading plan, details, notes and quantities, preparations, specifications for building documents, for bidding documents, meeting with township reps. So That then a letter, Andy, can you get up the letter?
The second
Is that
one.
where he's reading from, the second slide?
Yeah.
Or Amber?
Second PDF.
Kevin, what page was that on?
Keep scrolling down, right there.
Yeah.
And our
Scope of services
tennis
to
courts are
provide.
not usable right now. We've got to kind of keep up our parks. Otherwise, why have them?
Clearly, you have a deeper knowledge of what they do, Gary, than myself and perhaps all of us here. We felt like it did cover the scope of services, but you might think, well, they didn't specify X or Y. That'd be a fair, kind of along with Kelly's comment already, perhaps that's the sort of thing that gets clarified with Hubble as it relates to, look, does it include, and maybe you want to identify a couple of things you don't see, Gary?
Right.
But then on top of that, looking at, as Kelly said, the options of types of concrete.
Yeah, they have a lot of things covered. I did not see this. That was my mistake, I guess.
But if you see anything else, maybe get with Justin, and he can, Justin and Andy can talk to,
Some of these
them.
things were supposed to be supplied the last time that we went through this.
Hmm.
I was very specific about those things, and it did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm throwing more money after what I did before.
Like I said, I think in light of your comments, I think we should be glad for the sort of the reset on this part of it, provided they follow through well, Anyone else? Any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, 6-1, it carries. Item number 14 now, our 2026 draft budget for discussion. It's a budget that was presented at Finance a week ago by Justin, And good, you brought what we went over in finance, which is a great way to kind of issue spot as you go through these. And for those who it's your first time going through it, a lot of pages. Every year you're looking for what are the material differences up or down, what's going on. And did a good job of sort of pulling those out and summarizing those for us. So this is not meant tonight, of course, to approve and pass. And there will be further meetings, as you can see from the budget schedule. You're certainly welcome tonight, because we've had it for a few days now, to dig in as deep as you like on some of these points tonight, or ask questions or whatever, and then we'll have further discussion coming up here in the future. On September 8th, you can see any budget amendments, the tentative adoption at that point, and ultimately a public hearing, the adoption of the budget before the end of September, because that's the date by which we have to set the millage each year, September 30. So, all right, the budget is before you. Before comments are made, is there anything you'd like to say, Andy or Justin?
Yeah. So I'm going to just kind of run through the kind of highlights of the budget and kind of give an overall viewpoint of it. The total requested that we have for the general fund side, like we said before, there's two different buckets. The general fund request is $18,725,170. The budget assumes a millage rate of 2.25 mils, unchanged from the current year. And this is the first time in 2026 we'll have no ARPA dollars subsidizing our budget. Budget assumes a contribution from fund balance of $5,304,205. And at the end of the year, or before we adopt this budget, it needs to be balanced. Our water sewer fund, which is separate from the general fund, has an appropriation of $18,363,231, and the budget projects revenues to exceed expenditures by $80,000. Major capital items, the election. What we ran into is during the school election this May, our building and the church next door had a power outage, and consumers could not give us a turn-on time. So myself, Chief DeWitt, and Rob Deemter spent time locating batteries, getting generators, trying to make an election work with no power. And the reality is, we got to have an election no matter what. So by having a large generator at our building is going to be an early voting site. This thing has to be operational for 10 days around voting, no matter what. And we also have some precinct generators that we're able to store at the cemetery building, and now they have capacity after the building of the new DPW building. The sheriff, we're going to kind of bridge this discussion here in the next conversation about the public safety discussion. I propose to add 2 road positions to the sheriff's budget. The fire, we have a lot of changes coming here with the fire service. I put an asterisk behind, and what I did is I put the 2 lowest costs of service, so I wouldn't sway the public one way or another, and really it's up to the board to decide which direction we want to go. I put an asterisk behind the 11-2 Fire Department service because recently DC Tibbetts and Chief DeWitt put together a SAFER grant that we applied to the federal government. We're going to find that out in September. It could be the beginning, it could be the end. So for my recommendation is I put these positions in there, but I would remove them when it goes to the township board, because if we have it in there, the SAFER grant has to add capacity to a fire service. So on paper, we have to not show that it's being covered, if that makes sense. There's also some miscellaneous tools, thermal imaging cameras, AEDs, e-tools for frontline lit rigs, CPR mannequins, and around $100,000 that we're looking to spend. Continuing on, our building department and building fund, we have an air handler that's dying. Ms. Reenstra and I have been working, I think, on the phone tirelessly with different companies, trying to keep our AC going here through the summer for our staff, but it's on its last leg. I have $210,000 for entry modifications that's due in relation to early voting and trying to keep our staff safe. I have $50,000 in office furniture. As we get new modifications, the new office furniture would basically reorganize how we do business at the township. And I have a parking lot that's slowly eroding that if this is an early voting site, like it is next year, I need my parking lot safe so people don't trip and fall. Drains, I've been instructed by the Ottawa County Drain Commission that we need to start adopting over the 400 drains we have in Georgetown Township.
You realize that's 80 years, right?
That's my question is, you want me to do what? And I said, well, how many can you do? They said 5. I go, I can do 5 a year. So we'll do 5 a year, every year, forever. And that's a unknown, because as we do roads, we figure out the costs, and then we have to kind of pivot and make it work. The library, I have $15,000 allocated for self-checkout machines. This allows us to basically allow people to use the library and not have staff in the library or less staff. I have a front sign that is at its end of its life. The screen we've patched multiple times, and it's done. So as you see panels going out here, we can't patch it anymore. It's at its useful life. I found out from our vendors that they have an 8-year time span, which I never realized when we sign up for fire stations to have LED signs, that these have a very short lifespan. So continuing on, I broke out the highway and street. 12th Avenue has been delayed to delayed from 2025. So that's in there. I budgeted $500,000 for sidewalks, bike paths, and on average, I need to spend $2 million on road surfacing. We actually, combination of the drains and this budget, I've had Andy start the process looking at roads, is that the road commission gives us their own pacer scale. I'm having a township scale of priority, so we can make sure that we're replacing the right roads and prioritize them correctly to our standards too. Senior Center, we have up to a $10,000 speaker replacement. I believe that's be on the very high side, and we're looking at alternatives for that. Senior Transportation, $318,000 for 2 light-duty buses. We utilize a state transportation grant, so these are non-township dollars. Cemetery, $15,000 in a well. When I start the budget process in June, Rod Diener informed me that we are having issues with a well. This has had it kind of evolved. We've had numerous wells in the township go dry, and we had one, the static level of the standing water in the well went down 4 feet from when it was placed. So we have essentially a well that went dry in our cemetery. So if you drive back there, you see the nice roads, and then you get to a bare brown area. That's because we had a well go dry. And at that time, I didn't know what was going to happen with it, and we are working on it right now. Parks, we had a number of projects that got delayed from 2025 that we've really approved early on here. In the next 4 weeks, I'm going to know what's going to happen with Rush Creek parking. I'm going to know what's happening with different projects, unlike the Maplewood and Rush Creek courts that we just approved. That was, again, a different engineer that gave us that number. With this new engineering company, I foresee that number, that 1.2 million, coming way down. So the parking lot at 8th Ave, if we replace like for like, it'll cost $300,000. If we add to it, the water resource has a say of spillways, drainage, and that exponentially will increase the cost of the parking lot. The deck replacement, there's a deck that connects the parking lot to the entryway, and that's met its useful life. We've kind of kicked the can on this one, and we have to do something about it now. Camera upgrades. The cameras that we have in our parks and the plate reader has saved us thousands of dollars. And I think almost every damage that we have in our parks, I'm looking at Sergeant Tamiga, I think we have either got money back, or it's going through prosecution, and we've prosecuted basically every person that damaged our park. So to me, that's a win, and it pays for itself over time. Looking at we have a snowplow truck replacement that's past its useful life. And then if we do move forward with 8th Ave, I foresee going through Eagle and all the standards we'd have to go. I don't foresee this finishing in '26. I think we get halfway through. Next page, water sewer. Talking with Joel, looking at how our KP system that we have is dying. Every day, I think they have to manually restart it, reboot it, and it's going to a point where there's one time when we try to restart it and it's not going to turn on. So we're looking at about 4.5-year horizon from when, at the current pace that we're going to replace these meters, after seeing success in our neighboring communities of outsourcing it to a third-party company and maybe using a local company that we can vet the employees. We would have a pilot program that the individuals would go into the house, replace the meter, and it would be basically a public-private partnership between the two. We also have the 48th Ave water main that's supplying water to our township at $5.9 million. Another message board, and because of the generators we need to get a 3/4 ton pickup truck to move those large generators around. Full-time ads, we're still looking at the pilot program, looking at DPW, seeing what that will work out, because we need to keep on moving on the water meter replacement. And then I have the question of the 5 full-time firefighters. Again, in the interim, we're going to have to strike that for the application of the SAFER grant to hear the results of that. Statutory requirements. So when you look at our budget, you're like, I can't believe they're spending money on this. Well, the 3 things we have to do is voting, assessing, and collect property taxes. So they're not attractive items, they're not fun, but I have to do them. Looking at the full-time staff and what that looks like moving forward, I did move 2 people from DPW and that's our clerks up front, to the county assessing staff. So you see the basically employees ranking, or not ranking, but distribution in the departments. I still have 1 vacant position in zoning. We're kind of monitoring that. Currently, I guess 5 years ago, we're building about 180 houses a year in Georgetown Township. I think we're going to be pushed between condos and houses to hit 70 this year. So I want to keep that in my budget and not have to remove it and then add it in later. So we'll kind of see what happens with interest rates and everything else happening in our country. That's kind of a summary for 2026. I welcome any questions or comments from the board.
Thank you, Justin. First comment I want to make is, you all know it's Justin's first year doing the budget, and he's only been here with us about 1.5 years total. He came on as assistant manager in that neighborhood, right? Roughly? I got that right?
2.5.
2.5, sorry, I missed a year. But still, I mean, when you change positions to being the manager and having to put forth a budget, it's a big responsibility. It's a new responsibility, and I commend Justin, because I know he's doing a lot of homework, asking a lot of questions, doing a lot of investigation and study, with those who know their area, right, or their department. And so I appreciate the work you put into this to put in front of us. I think you've carried on the approach that's been used in the past, namely to overestimate expenses, if you will, and conservatively estimate income.
Correct.
So to that degree, or on that point, I saw in the first slide you had there, you had about a $5.3 million transfer you mentioned from, there you go, from the general fund. Where do you see it? Keep going.
So that,
right there.
Keep in mind, we have a number of projects that are being delayed from 25 to 26. That's roughly, I think, 1.6 million. And with the fire eliminating those 5, pending the results of the SAFER grant, that's another 500,000 roughly. So we're looking at it, if you take that number, it's actually reduced by $2 million. So I think I'm at 5.3 million, so it's actually 3.3 million.
for comparison's sake, and I know you didn't put forth last year's budget, but you probably worked on it with Rob, what did we propose would be the transfer from the fund balance going into last year's budget?
Last year was 3.6 on general fund.
Okay, so comparable.
Well,
And ultimately, it's looking like what, reality-wise, that way?
it's going to be less. There's a lot of unknowns that are happening in 26, and there's a lot of unknowns what's happening in the direction of public safety too. So I'm putting my best foot forward, and we say, pray that it all works out. The good thing is, I guess, the one good thing is that we have healthy fund balance that we've made over years. Our budget has been subsidized by high interest money that we've collected from our investments and ARPA dollars. So that ARPA dollars are roughly $5.1 million that we bought items the past 4 years of items that we normally would have bought with our general fund or water sewer fund. Well, now that's gone, so now we have to fill that hole. And now we have the EMS hole, and now we have early voting hole. So I feel like I'm filling holes best I can, and at the end of the day, when you add more services, it costs more money.
That large generator, is that useful for any other purpose besides a backup for voting?
Township operations.
So it's outside the scope of needing to make sure the voting can take place. It's there for us on 365.
365. I look at what happened in Gaylord this past winter. That could easily happen here. And it wiped out infrastructure for months. I think they're still rebuilding up there. And I see people, if we have a large generator and, you know, it's the middle of winter and they need to charge their phones, or I would open the doors and let people charge here if need be. And at the end of the day, we have an ECO room downstairs that chief and deputy chief can manage if we have disaster, tornado, blizzard, any weather event. And this thing, the current generator we have runs a few offices, runs like Andy's office, a couple outlets, and the downstairs room, and that's it. And it's like, you know, if we have the generator we have is 27 years old, it's like, well, if we have to replace that, let's get something a little bit bigger to run the whole building.
Andy, we see who's important.
So I looked at the budget quite a bit, and what I've noticed is that our revenue only goes up between 4 and 5%. But our expenses, because of what we do, is running 7 to 10% because of the things that we purchase are expensive. You know, like infrastructure and
Ladder truck?
ladder trucks, all those things are running above what our revenue is because we're not building the houses that we did before. People aren't moving because if their interest rate is cheap, those assessments don't go up. So I struggle with taking money out of what I call the inheritance fund, the fund balance. What will be the fund balance? If you took this out, what would you have?
We have 13.7 in the bank right now. So if we did the 5.3,
Yeah.
13.7 minus 5.3, yeah.
8 mil. So, I mean, all I'm saying is, you can only do that about so often. And if you're doing it so that you don't have to raise taxes, then we gotta be very careful because there's gonna come a day you're gonna have to raise taxes. Are you better off raising taxes a little bit every year to keep up with the inflation of doing the things that we do here? Or do you wait until the fund balance is gone and go, okay, now we're gonna raise taxes 1.25 mils because we gotta cover ourselves? And that's the problem we have with the water bill right now because we want to keep everything cheap and we sold water for less than what we're paying for it because we don't want to raise the water bill. We can do the same thing with tax if we're not careful. If we raise it 0.25, that's not a big hit. It only takes in $650,000 a year, but at least we're trying to keep up a little bit. And I'm not advocating for we have to do this. I'm just saying I think there's something we need to think about and we need to discuss. Do we look at raising our millage up a little. I know we all want to be proud of the fact that we're the lowest millage in the state. But we're also a township of 55,000 people, and we're getting to the point where we're starting to replace stuff. Our water and sewer, starting to see the 50-year-old aged water and sewer lines. You got parks that haven't been updated for 30 years, and now we want to update them. You're looking at big money, and I think that this is not a discussion. It's not something to decide tonight, but I think it's a discussion that we have to have in the back of our mind. Do we look at raising taxes 0.25 this year or next year, and we kind of get a plan in the back of our head knowing that our fund balance is going to last about so long? Because if our fund balance was zero and we had to raise that 5 million, you'd have to raise taxes 3 or 4 mils to cover the 5 mil. Because a quarter mil only brings up $650,000. So half a mil is 1.2, 1 mil is 2.4. 4 mils is 5. So I'm just laying it out there so everybody understands how numbers work. And I'm just trying to sort through in my brain how we should do this to the best way so we have a plan.
Yeah.
Well, it also ties in with the next topic, with fire.
Exactly.
But if we get the SAFER grant, fantastic, that's a Band-Aid. That's temporary. Because eventually all that cost comes right back to the township.
But it helps.
But it does help, and it gets us through the interim period of figuring this out.
Yep.
But inflation doesn't go away. You know, when they say inflation is down, no, it's just not up as much.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't go away. So we're going to have to continue, I think, Gary, you're correct, to look at that. Had we or prior boards planned on the water, as we received an email this week from a resident, like, holy cow, all of a sudden you hit this with this huge increase. Why weren't you just raising it a little bit every year to keep up with us, to keep up with the cost of what Wyoming was charging us? And I think you need to be proactive on this and not reactive, because as Justin mentioned, what if we have a Gaylord? What if we have an ice storm that just buries the city, right? And you have huge astronomical costs that we didn't plan for. You know, then the fund balance goes away in a hurry. And we've just been fortunate and lucky not to have something like that. So I think you do need to plan.
Those are good cautions. I would say we have historically, again, the way that we budget, I'd be shocked if our fund balance took a hit. What we've said up here is possible. I'd be shocked at that. And I don't think, to your point, Gary, we'd never let it get close to zero. We've never allowed it to do so. We can't.
We can't.
No, we wouldn't.
But I also don't think we need to sit here and think it's going to go from 13 point whatever to 8. It's not.
Right.
You might say that there's been build up to a margin to do some things that can't be repeated on an annual basis that you'd say aren't always in the budget, but I think you'd probably counterpoint to say, yeah, but what's the next thing we can't see coming, right? And that's true, right? You can't always predict what's coming.
And the reality is that you need $6 to $7 million from the township, because you have bills that come in. You know as well as I do, you can get a grant for something to put in new air conditioners, but the air conditioner company wants to get paid. So you pay them and you wait for the grant money, because you end up getting a good deal on that air conditioner. You're going to pay cash and be done with this, right? So you need a lot of money in the background to make sure you can cover your bills until you get paid.
Yep.
Another thing people don't realize either is we only get paid once a year in the township. Winter taxes, that's it. So we get this one lump sum, winter taxes, and we got to make that last for the whole year. So there's a lot of carryover that you have to think about. You know, and even in the same thing in my business, I have to carry so much money to make sure I can pay myself, even though I might not get paid for 60 days or whatever, but everybody else has to be paid first. And like I said, I'm just looking down the line. I'm just looking at it and go, if we spend $5 million fund balance this year and we spend $3 million next year, we got a fund balance of $5 million now. And so is this something that we should be looking at in the future? And go back and forth. I read this budget pretty well, and I think there's things that we need to be careful, because I think the inflation of the things that we do is much more than the inflation of normal things.
I can speak to cycles that I've seen in terms of people's terms too, since I've been on the board. And, you know, I would say by and large, most additional money, if you want to put it that way, gets spent during the first 2 years of a new term. And then everybody gets real tight the last two. And it's, historically, you've kind of seen it do this. This might be the budget where you have certain improvements made that won't otherwise be made throughout the duration of everyone's term. I'm just saying historically, I think I've seen that. We have committed to some pretty big projects in the past, 13 million plus alone on the library. We're able to pay for that with cash. I think historically we've shown the ability to maintain and preserve that rainy day fund, and I realize we could be under a new normal, so to speak. But I don't think it's as drastic as what might be feared. I certainly not to the point yet of, in my opinion, raising taxes. But it is going to be seen, I guess, in the next few years what happens economically and otherwise. No one can, perfectly predict that.
Right.
Yeah. Others.
I think Gary's points are incredibly valid. As we watch our building permits decrease year over year, and therefore at some point we will have a cap, if you will, in our revenue, at least on that side, where it's only growing then by either the consumer price index or whatever the number is. It's like the max increase, of your assessed value and therefore taxable value of your home. We are approaching the date where our revenue, our ability to increase our revenue percentage-wise will be significantly smaller than our capital outlay year over year. And I do think that that's something that it's great that we recognize it. I think to Gary's point, we do have to think long-term about how we are going to manage that, because our term is only 4 years, but 4 years from now a new board will enter these seats, and 8 years from now another board will enter these seats. And I think it is our responsibility to not just the incoming boards, but our residents, to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success for the future. I don't necessarily know that that means to increase taxes right now, but I do know that it means that we have to think differently, because to just continue to look at the budget and be thankful we have a healthy fund balance and therefore make decisions based on a healthy fund balance, it's not going to do us any favors 20 years from now, because I do think we are going to potentially run into a situation like with this water rate increase, where it was inevitable. We had no choice. The water rates had to be increased to the rate that we did, but it could have been done in a more justifiable way over the years. And I think it is important that we consider that. This year, we obviously have a couple of big budget items, but those things will also never go away. 5 years or 10 years from now, we'll have those same level of improvements that continually need to happen if we want to maintain the parks that we have, that I think draw so many people to this area. But one topic that hasn't been mentioned yet, and Justin alluded to it as part of his presentation, right, our basic requirements as a township are assessing taxes and elections. Another alternative, instead of just raising the outright millage rate, would be to, consider letting voters decide at some point what additional services are important to them, rather than let this 7-member board hold all the cards. There are options for Parks and Rec millages and safety millages and senior center millages. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's the right option either, but there are other mechanisms where we can say we should, let the public at some point determine if those things are important, if we can no longer fund them. There are avenues for that, but we are setting ourselves up for forcing people to make that decision if we don't come up with a long-term solution as well. I don't have a solution. It's just food for thought as we think about the budget and kind of adding on to some of Gary's thoughts?
Well, these are excellent comments, and it's what we need to hear. I think we're facing the toughest decision since I've been on the board, as far as with our firefighters, with our quick response when people are ill. This is all life and death. How many people do we hire? How do we go about doing all of this? We buy our water, and this is going to hit people in the pocketbook. What are we going to do? All of these decisions, and then the aging, like Justin had mentioned with our air system, aging, equipment we have in our buildings, but also with our infrastructure, we got some major costs coming up. So I can see Gary's comment. I feel strongly the same way. We have to be very, very careful about how we go about this. And that's why I think this is a very good discussion. And then we'll be discussing, of course, what we'll be doing with our quick response now that the Sheriff's Department is stepping back and giving us a window. How are we going to go about this? And should the people be more involved? I like Kelly's comment there. Should we be looking, educating the public and saying, this is what we have. Do you want to vote for more officers? Do you want to vote for some of these things? We've stayed debt-free. I'd love to see us continue to do that, but I'd also like to give people a voice on what they want.
Devil's advocate, though, right? You have a millage one year that supplies X amount, using a safety millage, for example,
No.
supplies X amount of, firefighters, and then when it's up for renewal, they don't approve it. And then, it still falls at our hands
I
to
know.
provide those services to our community. So I don't know that that's the solution, just again, food for thought, but it's going to be difficult no matter how we figure this out and navigate this path.
We've got a cottage up north, and Mom and Dad got that back in 1948. And our taxes for West Shore College are 2.5 mils. And West Shore College is 35 miles away in another county. But that's part of our tax bill. Personally, I don't think that's fair. But 2.5 mils, we operate the entire township on 1 1/4.
2 1/4.
I'm sorry, 2 1/4.
2 1/4.
And they take 2.5 just for that college. Many communities do that.
Kind of a mundane point, but that well in the neighborhood or in the cemetery, 15,000, do they know they can hit water if they just go deep enough? Is that the solution?
So
It's very briny, but who cares, water and grass, right? So is it just go deeper?
well, we don't want to put salt water
Yeah, we
on
don't wanna
there.
put brine.
That'd be a bad. I think the issue is the static level of water, and this is what Deanfer told me today. The static level of water has decreased like 4 feet. Is it because we haven't got rain in 6 weeks, right? I think that has a lot to do with it. Between that and the other wells we have in the township, we're kind of drying up. Blunden Township, I think they're up 31 wells have dried up. So hopefully, because we have multiple wells between the east side and west side of 20th Ave and cemetery property, the other wells have been fine. So I think if we just adjust it, maybe set it down and see if we can make it work and pray for rain.
Maybe tonight or tomorrow, rain.
We need it.
Yeah.
Some of these things we got for road patrol and stuff too, I think we got to stay vigilant too and look for, I think you could even probably do a safer grant like we did with the fire department, try to even, if we want to increase the officers, that we stay vigilant to that too, that might be out there to help us offset some costs there. Got to keep an eye on that as it moves forward.
That grant's available for police officers just like it would be firefighters. So. Can you limit your knowledge of how many things you can apply for? And
You just keep your eye out. You can apply for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Anyone else? Say this is your first bite. All right, the next time this comes before us, I'd be prepared to offer any sort of amendments, comments, further insights. And of course, even between now and then, you're always welcome to offer up suggestions, inquire, contact Justin. Hey, Justin, I need an answer to this question, or whatever, Andy. Keep educating ourselves in the process. So
September 8th, is that it?
September 8th, is that the next?
That'd be board offers budget amendments, tentatively adopt the budget, and schedule a public hearing.
Okay.
Right, yep.
Okay. You guys good with this discussion? We move on? All right. Item number 15, public safety discussion. So we have with us tonight, of course, Chief and Deputy Chief, Sarge with us, Justin here, Andy. So we've got a lot of people who are prepared to address this topic. So Justin, looks like you're going to go first.
Yeah, so I'm going to use the microphone because I think we're going to alternate and kind of all work together and give information on all three components. The public safety we have in Georgetown Township is made up of three different compartments of EMS, fire, and police. And when this first proposal, when the sheriff's office approached us, it was, well, if we're just gonna, they're not gonna do EMS, let us cut the EMS officers and give it to fire. And I go, well, yes and no, because we still need officers. And as this has evolved, we also look back to when this, I guess, bigger discussion took place in 2024. Matt DeWitt, Rob Litchak, and I were looking at what was going on in the fire department and police. At that time, we had numerous toneouts for medicals, multiple tones. I know Chief can talk more about how many we had, but it was burning out our paid on call for how many times it was happening. And what was going on is that the E unit was going unfilled, and every medical that was coming in was getting turned over for the fire department. So at that time, we looked at, hey, can we put people basically on staff to make this work as we figure out what's going to happen with the E unit. And as we actually bridged the gap. Well, we're at the point now where we have to now pivot again and make a new plan. So options for EMS. Option one is we do nothing. It's the cheapest option, and we don't have to manage it. It's fatigue on our paying on call. No other municipality this size does it this way. We're putting at risk, citizens at risk in delayed response. Option number two, we outsource to Life EMS, who is our current ALS provider, who's basically the ambulance. They currently run the ambulance. We only manage a contract. The first proposal was one EMS rig is serving the entire township. And if you eliminated the E unit and just went to one Life EMS, it is a lower service when compared to the E unit. Option number three is the fire department. They're currently in-house. We know who they are. History of great service. There's more full-time personnel and admin costs, payroll, workman's comp, insurance, and we have long-term costs to building modifications. And option four is basically creating a public safety department. There's a few in the area. One like East Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo Public Safety, Grand Haven City, police and fire is combined. So basically your police officer is wearing two hats, a police officer and a firefighter at the same time. If you wanted to do that, that's a 5-year build out. We need a faster solution, and it's very costly. So every month we get a report from Life EMS, which is the ambulance service. I just picked June, usually May, June, July. In the summertime is usually a busier time. We had 275 requests. The total transports 183, and there's a breakdown between Med 1, Med 2, and Med 3, and their times that they are responding. So between calling 911 and them showing at your house, that's a breakdown. So at the fastest, if you're having a chest pain, difficulty breathing, on average for that month, you're looking at 9 minutes. Med 2 and Med 3 a little bit slower. Then we looked at to the whole year. So we looked at the snapshot of June 1 to May 31st. And at that time, from this point in time, we are averaging 8 medicals a day in Georgetown Township. That Med 1 was a little bit faster, still at 8 minutes and 52 seconds. So the question came up of different EMS levels. So currently, our Georgetown firefighters have MFR. It's 15 education credits. Certification. So if we onboarded a firefighter, we say, okay, you need to get MFR certification, it would take 60 hours. The EMT, in the proposal that we have, that would be the level of service that we would get from Life EMS. It would provide basic life support. Their education credits is 30 that they have to maintain through the state. And to get certified, they would have 194 hours.
What does basic life support consist of? Because I see that's not mentioned in the first column. What are they doing in addition? That is,
So if on the tab, I guess, Amber, can you click on that hyperlink that says EMS information? So I guess Ryan and Matt can speak to this. So basically, scroll down, Amber. The state of Michigan has outlined what skill set that each, I guess, column can do. So if you're an MFR, EMT, or paramedic, you have to stay in your lane. You can do these services. If you're an EMT, you can do these services. And it progresses to the highest, I guess, pre-hospital care as a paramedic.
the MFR, EMR, was that just the first column of what you were showing us in the chart, or both?
Correct. That's the entry level to
And EMT was the second column.
is the next tier up.
How many paramedic firefighters does Georgetown have?
Zero.
Any?
But so with our certification, so it's like having a CDL driver driving a regular car. You can have the certification, but if your car's not licensed to pull big trucks or big loads, then they're very knowledgeable, but with the rigs that we have, they can't perform paramedic items, if that makes sense. I guess I'm going to default to Chief and DC on this one. I guess how would you answer that?
BLS is your typical service where you're going to get there and you're going to start life support. You're going to start CPR. You're going to start an airway. You're the first response to get there to start a medical call and get there within a certain time period. You're trying to aim for about that 4 to 6 minute mark because that's where you start to have brain damage with lack of oxygen and those kind of things. So the ambulance, as you look on these charts here, we are currently MFR, EMR. Most of our fire departments nationwide are either MFR or EMT level. Those are the two most popular out there. There are a few fire departments that do run a paramedic level. You're talking skill sets where they do drugs and can put on a device to be able to read the heart, those kind of things. All of our ambulances currently carry those type of devices.
One of the examples you just gave is like airway. You're not able.
We are.
You
At
are.
our level, we can do advanced airways. So we.
Why does it say? Oh, I see. There's 3 different categories. Got it.
And this is slightly dated. The airway supraglottic, we can perform that. That is an advanced airway that was just recently brought to the MFR level.
Okay.
So a lot of the skill sets that are at the paramedic level have been trickling down to the EMT and to the MFR level. I would not be shocked to see those levels start to combine. They just come down to a couple of them at the state.
How many EMTs does Georgetown Fire have right now?
Currently, we have 36 EMTs.
36 EMTs,
Yeah.
plus the rest of them are MFRs.
Correct. 36 EMTs, we have 21 MFRs, and 3 paramedics. And we've decided that we want to move to the next level, which is EMT in the future. We'll be looking at that in the future with you guys.
Do our police
Firefighters.
department have any MFRs, or are they?
They do not. Nope.
Okay.
They're
CPR
probably
trained?
just basic CPR, carry an AED.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Thanks.
All right. So, one of the questions that came up as this has been unpackaged is, what is our current level of service now? So I worked with Sergeant Tamiga. We kind of got the schedules of the current E units, and this is the distribution of when people are coming on duty and when they go off duty. They're on a 2-week rotation, and basically and I'm going to let Sergeant Tamiga jump in on this when he gets to the sheriff's office, is that basically for every person that works on day 1, you have another person that works on day 2 for the most part. What happens is on the mornings, they have 1 to 2 paramedics depending on time. And as the afternoons and it turns into evening, there's times and certain dates that we have 3 paramedics on. What I've learned, and as we unpackage this, is that the overtime that is billed to the township is not overtime that they're getting to replace these positions. And there's no minimum staffing level. So what's happening is that, say, on Monday of the first of the 2 weeks, if that paramedic called in sick, he woke up, he had the flu. All right. Well, he called in sick. They may put it out. They may not. If it doesn't get filled, then the calls will be turned over to Georgetown. So like last, I think it was March, April, and May, when we were having this exorbitant amount of toneouts for our fire department, is because basically we were paying for a deputy, whatever reason that position didn't get filled, and we were supplementing it through the fire department. So you can see that over time, it takes a lot of individuals to cover what we have right now. So we have a couple different handouts, and I'm going to speak of the life proposals, and I'm going to let Chief and Deputy Chief speak of the proposal for the fire department. You can click on that first hyperlink. This proposal, go scroll down, see what that date is, July 25. So this is after we first met with Life EMS, which we went to them because we were exploring every avenue of what this will look like in the future. So this was the second proposal, and they basically, the difference between the 2 proposals is this proposal has I call it a 1.3 position, where for a peak time of the day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., we'll have a second Life EMS person responding in essentially the Explorer SUV type. Amber, if you want to scroll up. So what they would have, in addition to the ambulance that already is coming, they would have this respond to incidents. So that's what this would like. And then from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., we would have 2 of these stationed in Georgetown Township. So that's life option 1 on our website. So Amber, if you go to the next one, EMS proposal number 2. This proposal is this is the original proposal that we got from Life that we requested. This proposal looks at just having 1 person staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I guess the biggest difference between this and the E-Unit program is that if someone calls in sick, they have depth to have another person come in. So they're not looking for us for, hey, we're going to charge you overtime for this day. This is a set amount. And year after year, it'd be a 4% increase in costs. I guess there's different pros and cons with these proposals. Again, we look to Life EMS for these proposals. We're good with that. Close out of that. And I'm going to let Chief and Deputy Chief talk about the Georgetown Fire Department proposals.
Well, with our proposals, we're looking to address 2 problems. We currently have a fire staffing problem. Problem that's been growing. People's lives are busier than ever with extracurricular things going on in their lives, church, sports, travel teams. It's harder and harder for our current firefighters to fill this role. Just last Saturday, we had a tone out for a brush fire, and we did not pull a truck. That was on a Saturday afternoon. That usually wasn't unheard of. That was unheard of. We never had that issue before. This is becoming more and more of a reality. During the day, we run 2 stations to every incident just to make sure that we have enough staffing. So with our proposals, we're looking to fill 2 roles. One, have great EMS. We've been the backup to the unit program for a long time. We cover them currently. The proposal or the program that Justin was talking about, I call it an EMS duty crew. So instead of paying 18 members to come down for a call, I was only paying 2 members when that unit was not available. I would get a call from Sergeant Taminga, hey, we don't have anyone to fill the role. So I would put on that duty crew where we could just have 2 individuals take that medical. So the calls beyond that, we would take from there. So we're looking to fill those 2 gaps. We're trying to bridge the fire staffing to provide better service and to get in that window of 4 to 6 minutes. That's the critical time for BLS service, being able to provide good service to our community as far as a life and death situation. So I'll turn over to DC here, who's going to break down the proposals for us.
Bring it down to option 1, if you would. Good evening, Supervisor, Clerk, Treasurer, and Trustees. Thanks for having us up here this evening. First and foremost, I think we need to recognize our staff. The Georgetown firefighters that Chief and I have worked with for over 25 years. I mean, they're the folks that are getting up in the middle of the night, responding to the emergencies out there, giving up time with their families. We've got a lot of training requirements, and certainly this is, no, I guess, dig on them, or this is no negative as it relates to our committed staff that we've got here. Currently, we've got about 60 part-paid personnel. So part-paid personnel, I think that's really important to lay the groundwork, right? When folks come in the fire department, they obviously get interviewed. We do a background check. They start with the fire department. A lot of times they start running with a fire station before the fire academy begins, right? And generally the fire academy is done through Ottawa County. They go Tuesdays, Thursday evenings, and a lot of Saturdays for up to 6 months. They take a state test and they go and they become a certified what's called firefighter 1 and 2. Beyond that, as was talked about a little bit earlier by Justin and the chief, we have our folks go through what's called medical first responders. So that's a class that's hosted generally here in Ottawa County, and they've got a national registry test that they need to pass to hit that MFR EMR licensure. That's a license through the state. And so once they're done with that and they meet all the probationary requirements, they become a part-paid firefighter. So folks that may be listening to this at home tomorrow or next week looking at, hey, what's going on with the fire department? I think it's important to know that currently we've only got 4 full-time firefighters in Georgetown Township, right? This past year, Chief DeWitt was able to add Todd Hauer, who's focusing in on fire inspections and community risk reduction efforts here in the township. But he was the first full-time firefighter added in 25 years. So if you look at the exponential growth that has taken place over time, so 2000, I think is 99, 2000 is when the chief started. That group were the last folks that were hired up until 2025. So we certainly appreciate adding that additional position. And ultimately, what our focus was, and when we met with Justin and Rob last year, EMS and taking over EMS or potentially taking over EMS was not really the focus of our conversation. We are first and foremost concerned about fire, right? I mean, that's not our primary responsibility to run medicals at this point. And so making sure that we've got competent folks that can respond to an emergency day or night, holidays, weekends, when folks would expect when they call 911, they've got a prompt response. That is our primary mission. And so that's why we requested an additional firefighter for this year. We certainly articulated that even if you go with option 1, which was laid out, which would be contracting with Life EMS or doing nothing, we still feel that we need full-time firefighters to augment the times that our folks are not around. And so going back to what Chief DeWitt had said, I'll say it's about 6 or 7 years ago during the day, we had some issues pulling a fire truck just to a simple emergency, a fire alarm, a car fire, a dumpster fire. And so today, just to make sure that we have got 2 firefighters and a fire truck, we actually tone out 38 people. And some days we get a lot of folks that show up. Some days we get 2 individuals that show up, right? Keeping in mind, I think if you look at comparable communities, Georgetown Township's 34 square miles, right? And so there have been a lot of conversations, well, hey, what is Granville doing, right? I think it's really important to point out that they're just over 7 square miles, between 7 and 8 square miles. So looking at their deployment model certainly doesn't fit the Georgetown Township deployment model. So what Chief DeWitt and I looked at when we went through the staffing options, we provided 5, right? And so it's based on our geographic location with our stations, calls for service historically at each station or each district, as we refer to them as. Obviously, there's a cost impact to each one of these, but I think most importantly, the safety of our residents, the safety of our firefighters has got to be paramount, right? And so that's the lens that we were looking through when we put together these options to put in front of you. So staffing option 1 is just as Justin alluded to, nothing approach. We could certainly contract with Life EMS. I guess I'll use Sheriff Eric DeBoer's comment that was made at the last board meeting, where the question was brought up, if we are not running medicals with the E-unit depths, how much of that time was being utilized? And the comment was made, 25% of their time was medical first responder, paramedic level responses for that. And so from our vantage point, just as the chief said, by hiring in a third party that can only run medical calls for service, we've done nothing for our fire problem. And so that's certainly a viable option, certainly something that you could entertain as a board. But I guess what we are saying is, rather than have an individual in an SUV that can just run medical calls, we can respond to medical calls for service. They can hop off the pickup truck and hop on a fire truck, cut our response times in half to a fire incident, extrication calls, water rescue calls, low-angle rescue calls. I mean, there's a lot of things that our folks can do. And on top of that, it's public education. They can go out and teach CPR. I mean, there's a lot of things that we really don't have the capability to do now or capacity to do now that we would actually enhance by going with the fire department provided services versus just that single third-party service, right? So let's go down to option 2, if you would, and maybe go to the map. All right, so this is the first proposal. I think this is what Justin was alluding to. Right? I know it was what he was talking about relative to the budget. So this is what is included in the budget currently, and this was staffing option number 2. This is also what we wrote the SAFER grant for, right? So you can see, and you may ask, why did we do a 5-minute response time? So go back to the slide that Justin had showed you for the month of June as it relates to Life EMS and their response, right? A 9-minute response is their average, but I think there's one key takeaway. If you take a look at the June responses, 48 of those 123, what we consider Med 1 responses, that would be somebody's unresponsive, they get chest pain, they're in cardiac arrest, significant traumatic injury. 48 of those 123, we are waiting for an ambulance to get there. And some of those stretched out to 24 or 26 minutes. So I guess what we're saying as we looked at this deployment model is we wanted to make sure that if somebody is having a significant medical emergency, this is where we can get within that 5-minute window. And we feel that that is a pretty good goal, because if you think about the call, if somebody were to call 911, you pick up the phone, you call 911, they determine it's a medical emergency, it gets prioritized based on that information, and then they call the fire department. So before we actually hit the road, there's time that's built up in that call processing, if you will, and determining what type of call it is. And then if we happen to be, doing some training drills, we obviously need to go from whatever we're doing in the fire department and then hop on the vehicle and get out the door. So like I said, that's why we built this on 5 minutes for this entire proposal. Just based on that 4 to 6 minute window for diminished brain capabilities, capacity, just as the time goes on. So anyways, if you would go to the next proposal. The map, please. Thank you. All right, so this is what in the proposal is option 3. So you can see those are, station 2 is the station that's over there to the right in red. Station 3 is a station that's over there kind of in that purple hue. So once again, we've got a 5-minute travel coverage time from station 2 and 3. You can see the area of the township that would be covered by that 5-minute response time. And once again, you're obviously increasing or enhancing that area. I think one important thing to note is if there was a combination model, as was talked about, if you go with Life EMS and you go with the fire department, the issue is, we'll say that you staff firefighters down at Station 2. If there's a medical emergency with just your EMS group that's up at Station 3, it would make really no sense to send them all the way down across the street, we'll say to Sunset Manor if there's a medical call for service. Why would we delay that call for service or increase that call response time? So you'd tie up the firefighters that are cross-trained, and you would leave those folks that can just run medical calls. They would still be on the other side of the township. They still can't pull fire trucks. They can't respond to anything else as well, right? So I think that's an important distinction between the commingled model versus just strictly the fire department responding out. So, and this would require, just to get into some numbers, that first proposal would be 5 firefighters. We would take one of our current maintenance firefighters and roll them in, so that would be 6 firefighters total. This proposal here would be 12 firefighters total. If we took one of our existing maintenance firefighters, it would be 11 that we would have to hire. All right, if you could move to the next map, please. All right, so this would be considered proposal 4. And if you actually read the proposal, this is our overall proposal. This is the model that we recommended. And the reason we recommended this, look at the coverage for all residents and visitors of the township. It is covered pretty much 100% with the exception of some area there in the southern part by the freeway. Obviously, we've got a little bit kind of up in the middle between Station 2 and 3, but we'll say 85%, 80 to 85% of the township is covered. And I guess from our vantage point, as we're providing options for the decision makers, we did not want to, I guess, pick winners and losers, right? Obviously, if you staff one station, there's going to be a gap somewhere else. And so we felt by staffing all of our stations, this would be the most robust way to provide medical service and then obviously decrease fire and rescue response times. The number of personnel that would be needed would be 18, 17 if we were to roll our maintenance firefighter into it. And then the last map, if you would. All right, so map looks exactly the same, but what this does, this would be 3 firefighters at each station versus 2 every day working. This would be 3 firefighters at each station, and the thought process behind this is that if Chief DeWitt and I were working there as firefighters, we could go on a medical. We would still leave a firefighter behind that could go out on second medical in our district. Or if we get a fire call while we're out, they could actually pull that fire truck. They're still at the station. We wouldn't be relying on folks coming from one of those other districts for that first due pumper. And so the thought process there would be, to me, one of the gold standards of our proposal here. Obviously, there's a big price tag that's associated with this. We certainly realize as we look to transition to some comparable level of service, this certainly is a service level that is certainly beyond what's being provided now by the sheriff's office. This would entail hiring 27 firefighters with, once again, if the maintenance firefighter is one of them, it'd be 26. So anything else you'd like to add? I also forgot one point. There was some question about, up front, obviously adding full-time staff. Would we have to do some major facility modifications or renovations? We had mentioned to Justin and Rob last year when we were putting together a budget proposal. Keep in mind, EMS really wasn't part of it. Our facilities haven't been touched in 25 years as it relates to expansion or growth, right? We've been certainly keeping up with, HVAC units, water heaters, things that we need to operate the facilities. And so what we had asked for during the budget process was to actually get a facility study done to take a look at some future growth, not that it had to be done today or tomorrow. And then we also feel with any of these proposals on the fire department side, with the existing square footage we have, with the way the space is laid out, we could actually defer any additions that would be associated with hiring firefighters for probably 3 to 5 years. We would say, but like I said, we would look to have a comprehensive facility study done that would actually outline, where we need to go in the future. So,
Absolutely.
With a facility structure analysis, any idea? Are we talking hundreds of thousands or quite a few millions?
So I do know that, I don't know if anyone remembers Chief Powie, who's the fire chief when these facilities were built. He had in mind to actually build on sleeping quarters for the eventuality of full-time firefighters, and some other amenities. And so I guess it just depends on how much future growth you want to plan for, right? Do you want to plan to, have 2 firefighters at each station? You don't want to plan for any future growth beyond that. Do you want to plan for 4 firefighters, 6 firefighters, that sort of thing? And then we need certainly some administrative capacity or area for office space. So that'd be some consideration. But what that footprint would look like, I mean, that's why we would look to get some estimates in here to evaluate exactly what we need moving forward. So
They were pretty much all designed to
Be
blow
expanded.
blow out a wall to make quarters, so it wouldn't be as much as tearing the whole thing down, starting over.
Yeah, our hallways are designed at the end of each station. There's actually like a cut line in the brick, and it was designed to blow that wall out and extend that hallway down and be able to add additional quarters and so on.
Man, not trying to put you on the spot, but just to kind of, are we talking 1 million, 5 million, 10 million?
I can't even hazard a guess until we figure out square footage. Yeah.
So I have a question about how many structure fires in like this past year has Georgetown Township had? And do you guys want to, I don't want to say get away from firefighting because that's your main role, but do you also want to add, all your MFR services to the township?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we feel that's the best deployment model for the township. Like I said, Chief DeWitt's been working here for over 30 years. I've been on for 26 years. And like I said, we took on about 400 to 500 medical calls for service that the sheriff's office was not able to cover last year, just based on the staffing levels or the number of calls for service that were coming in. So, I mean, ultimately, we've been doing this for the last 25 years. Whenever the sheriff's office is not available, our folks are going out. The big thing is when you're talking all of the EMS calls for service, our part-paid folks cannot be getting up 6 or 7 times overnight and then going to build homes or going to work for a construction company or going to teach at a school that come from all different walks of life. And that's not fair. Other departments have tried that in West Michigan, and it's not a sustainable model. That's why we presented the options that we did.
How many fires do you know how many fires structure fires maybe that the township has had?
Yeah, we can get that for you as it relates
I was just curious.
calls for service.
Mostly it's calls for service.
Calls for service have dramatically jumped for the EMS side.
Yes.
Aging population, we have a lot of retirement homes. With that happening, the EMS calls are just going to continue to go up. The fire service has had to learn to adapt. And that's what all the departments across the nation are having to do right now is restructure, and the main focus of fire is starting to become the EMS side. Right? We need our police officers to be police officers. That's why that program across the nation has also dried up. And the combination of running them as paramedics has separated. They realize that's just not a good model. So there is no departments in Michigan that I am aware of that are running, police and their EMS anymore, as things have changed. So, questions?
If I may, I want to commend each of you and Justin as well. Justin for pursuing the different options, getting information from Life EMS. You guys have presented, solid material with backup information, and for the benefit of the public, this isn't the first the board, of course, is considering or hearing a lot of what you're sharing tonight. Any one of you, I know the Life EMS proposal came rather recently, or at least the updated proposal did, but you have made yourselves available for individual discussion with board members to answer questions, and I don't intend to repeat the ones I've asked you tonight, but I just want to tell you I appreciate that. You obviously care a lot about the township and its residents, and we just can't say thank you enough, right? And I think you made a point earlier too, Ryan, saying, look, we're not meaning to somehow diminish our paid-on-call firefighters. I think we are really blessed with the 60 that we have and how well they've done for how long they have and continue to do. And so I want to say that whatever, John, you refer to this as one of the harder decisions and so on since we've been on the board. I know that we start from the same standpoint, which is no one in any of this equation wants anything but the best for our residents, right? For our township. There's different paths to getting to one place or another. and I'm sure there are, sincere and pretty vigorous differences of opinion about this route or that route, but I think everyone starts from the place of saying, we care about the people of Georgetown Township, and that is the aim and the goal, is to take care of them, protect their property, but more importantly, even protect their, their personal, their life. And so we appreciate all you do in that respect, and hope you understand that as we, to some degree, learn, right, and catch up, because we don't do what you do every day, and evaluate and try to weigh these things and evaluate, cost-benefit analysis, both financially, you would say, life sustainability-wise, all the rest of that. We're trying to process that, I hope, from the same place of just saying we want our people taken care of. So we appreciate that. Couple of questions I had, really for comparison's sake. I'm trying to understand with what the county has been offering, compare and contrast that with Life EMS most updated proposal of, I don't know, 1 1/3 or 1.4, whatever they consider it, and the option you had put forward that said, hey, not our preferred option, but it's an acceptable option. Hey, we could have, 2 people around the clock, total of 6 at a particular station, probably station 2. On the medical side, and I see you presenting 2 things here, right? There's the fire staffing issue, as you presented it, but there's also the medical side, right? Which is what initiated this discussion months ago when that started to come down through the sheriff's office. As you compare purely medical now, and I know you don't want to divorce it from everything else that a firefighter could be doing, but just looking at it from a medical standpoint, compare the coverage of what we currently have with the sheriff and response times to what we would have if we had the lowest of your options of having Station 2, manned with 2 people around the clock versus having the Life EMS option, knowing that Life EMS and, frankly, we could appeal to paid on-call staff if we got really busy at a particular moment, right? So how would you compare the medical care and response time in those 3 different options? Are we adequately covered under any of them, all of them?
So I think if you're looking for what is most closely aligned with what the sheriff's office is providing today.
That or better, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe, and we've talked about this, what is the comparative level of service to what you're getting today? We certainly believe that option 3, which would be 2 firefighters working each day down at Station 2, 2 firefighters working up at Station 3, would be a great starting point. So you're not losing coverage. You've got decent, if you look at the maps, you can go back to maybe option 3 there, and you can see the, you're gonna have to go one more, please. You can see the coverage area. And like I said, I think the disparity between having life cover part of it and the firefighters cover part of it, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And it's for a simple reason of right now, the boundary for Station 3, if you could picture this, is 20th Avenue. So anything west of 20th Avenue is Station 3's district. Anything east is Station 2's district down here on Church Street. And so when you're looking at an aggregate or an average response time, basically if you've got a medical then down in Station 2's district, you've got firefighters down there that are cross-trained. They're able to, take that first medical call that might be east of 20th Avenue. While going back to the statement that was made from the sheriff's office, what would they do if they're not running a medical call? They're doing radar, they're taking a call for service, they're walking the community. I mean, Sergeant Tamiga could certainly speak to those other activities. And so I guess what we're saying is if 25% of the sheriff's deputies' time was spent on, responding to medical calls for service, and if you've got the firefighters that are working in the busiest district down here taking a portion of those 25% calls for service per day, I guess you're basically leaving folks to, they're not township employees, they're not doing work for the township, they can't pull a fire truck. You're really leaving them up there just waiting for a medical call for service, and you're really no better off than if you, like I said, I'll say this, you're much better off having 2 firefighters up there than having the Life EMS folks up there. Like I said, nothing against Life EMS. They're a great company, been around for a long time. This is really, I should be referring to them as the third-party vendor. But I mean, to me, that's a singular service that you're paying a significant amount of money for, and they can't help us out on that fire equation that you were kind of referring to. So if you're looking at, option 3 would be the closest, though.
That's not really my question, though. if you divorce yourself from the question of what other things could be accomplished, like one's just sitting around, one could be doing fire-related things, one was doing police-related.
Yeah.
I'm saying strictly medical. 'Cause honest question, like what we have currently with coverage from the sheriff's office, and you're saying, hey, 4 to 6 minutes is critical response time. Do we get that presently?
I don't really know what the sheriff's office times are at all. I can't speak to that.
Do we get the level of coverage with the sheriff's office presently that we would get if we had, say, the option that would just staff 2 firefighters at one station? Would they be comparable? Would one be better than another? Purely looking at it from the medical standpoint.
No, I don't believe, and I think that's why going back to Justin's first proposal from Life EMS was one SUV that would be on 24/7. They went back and said, hey, we need some additional coverage. We can certainly tell you that with us picking up 400 to 500 medical calls for service, that's with the E unit currently in place. So, I mean, the fire department is picking up a tremendous amount of medicals. I mean, sometimes we've got 2, 3, 4 medicals that happen at a time, and that's where we're saying that if you just had 2 firefighters down at Station 2, that's not enough. I mean, you certainly need more than that to have parity or, similar level of coverage. And
what
like
we
I said,
currently have.
that is correct.
But what we currently have requires us to resort to a lot of calls to you, the overflow.
Yes.
And you'd say that would continue if it were that level of staffing through the fire department, meaning it may be comparable. You're just still taxing your paid on calls to supplement just as we do presently.
Right, but if you went with just 2 firefighters down at Station 2, any of those second, third, fourth medicals, you're taking your 4 to 6 minute response time that we're aiming for, and I've got to respond from home to the station. So I mean, that's why we're proposing the staffing at the station, is just because of that lag in response time, getting the equipment out there and getting our squad, if you will, to the scene is that is just far too great. If we're kicking more than 500 calls for service over, like I said, we're once again picking winners and losers. If you happen to be in Station 2's district and you have a medical emergency, that's great. That's a 5-minute response time. But anything else that may be, elsewhere, it's going to be an extended response time for sure.
I hear from you, you're not quite sure whether it's better or worse in terms of response time between what we presently have and if we staffed only 2 full-time at a given time at a station.
Because we don't have the sheriff's office numbers, we can't comment on
What
that.
about, do we know compared to the 1.4 Life EMS, medical coverage only, if there was that sort of arrangement, are you better, worse off, or similarly the same as it relates to response times and medical emergencies, not other things that could be an added benefit that they could be doing from a fire standpoint? So if you had 2 stationed at Station 2 around the clock, where you had 1.4 of Life EMS, medically speaking, is one better than the other?
I think so for sure. I think if you take a look at looking at those critical calls, having more than one responder there, keep in mind right now, if there's a car accident, the fire department goes, we go out there for a spill cleanup. So once again, a little bit on the medical side, but I'll kind of get back to that. If you've got a cardiac arrest, I mean, anything that's significant in the township, the fire department's already going, right? And so having just one member that's out there, can they begin CPR? Absolutely. Do you have issues with scene safety? And like I said, we could have certainly put together a proposal with just one responder out there. The reason we didn't, obviously, to help out with the fire side, and then also, we feel going into some of these environments at night or, by yourself as a responder, that's not always the safest thing either from our personnel standpoint. And so do we feel that having, I don't think it's apples to apples. So let me speak to that. By saying 1.4 life responders is not the same as saying 2 firefighters on, because you're talking, they're one person that's going to be on, and then they're going to have like a peak car, if you will. So they have 2 people that could respond out. We're saying what we're recommending is 2 firefighters and 2 firefighters as the optimal staffing level. That's going to be comparable to what we've got today, if that makes sense.
You wouldn't make a proposal for something that would put us in danger. So
No.
even the lowest threshold option you'd say is while not optimal from your standpoint, must be to some level acceptable, or it wouldn't be presented to us, correct?
So I guess when we're talking about just 2 firefighters down there, like I said, we wanted to provide a list of options. We didn't know where Life EMS was going to come in. Once again, we didn't see that proposal, up until 2 weeks ago. So we took a look at, okay, we definitely feel that I guess what's option 2, just 2 firefighters, is a decrease in service from what you've got today. Clearly, if Sergeant Tamiga's got 2 or 3 paramedics that are working, just having a singular unit with 2 people is, certainly less than 3, right? So I think just doing that, simple comparison certainly makes sense from our vantage point. But once again, looking at strictly the response times, if you were to just put 2 firefighters down at Station 2, and I'll just throw out there, say you've got a medical emergency up at the ice arena, up at 48th and Fillmore. Based on our response time, you're well beyond that 4 to 6 minutes. I mean, your chances of survival of a cardiac arrest in those areas is diminished significantly. So that's the lens that we looked through when we said, and that's why we recommended the option number 4, which is 2, 2, and 2, because you've got adequate coverage throughout, right? And that's kind of why we landed on that versus any of the other 5 proposals.
I'm going to turn to the floor. I don't want to monopolize, but on flipping to the fire personnel availability, and as you say, the fire staffing problem, a couple of things I looked at as part of the homework for this is we had about $700,000 in structural loss if you don't count the Newell fire for that 1-year period of time, right? Do we call ourselves lucky, or is it, I would look at it and say we're doing pretty good. We haven't had a lot of fire damage under the current staffing and methodology that we use. Was that just, have we just been fortunate, would you say, in that, boy, if that picked up, you'd really be in trouble because we're not getting enough people to respond to calls? Or do people respond to those structural calls and we still have a pretty good turnout? Because that's a low number.
Yeah, I think that really depends, right? So as our community, certainly we've got a lot of new development that's gone on, but obviously we've got a lot of aging infrastructure, right? We know from a fire department standpoint, statistically across America, many fires have got human involvement, right? If you remember back a few years ago, we had a big issue with folks discarding ashes inappropriately, and we had a whole rash of fires. I mean, I think upwards of a dozen, in a singular year. And so a couple of points to your question. If you could look in the proposal, what we generally aim for is, I'll say, 15 to 17 firefighters to get on scene. If you look at the National Fire Protection Association 1720 standard, they recommend within 9 minutes 90% of the time. Our current performance, if you take a look at that, we did pull a little bit of data going back for 17 fire incidents, if you will, and we actually average over 10 minutes for 4.4 responders getting there. So if you take a look at the national standards that are out there, if you take a look at kind of where we're at as a department, some days are good, some days are bad. I mean, that's the problem, is during the day, that's why we've got 38 responders showing up hoping to get 2 people in a fire truck, is because we just don't know. We've had those days, as the chief alluded to. This past weekend, we had a brush fire in the south end of the township. There was nobody to respond, right? I mean, it's a great weekend, really nice outside, and we're not paying folks to stick around. So they're out there, their kids are doing travel ball, they're busy with personal things going on. And so what we're looking for with our proposals is to basically, instead of just taking care of the EMS piece, we can still get operations going, and we can basically take that just over 10-minute response time, and we can cut that in half, right? So if our folks don't have to respond down to the station on that first due engine, and they can actually respond from the station out to that fire event, theoretically, we're cutting that response time in half. So we're going to limit property damage, but ultimately, as a fire department, life safety is always our primary mission and objective, is to rescue folks that may be trapped in buildings. We certainly have had fatal fires over the past decade or two here in the township, and I mean, I'm not going to stand up here and speculate the impact on full-time staffing versus having part paid staffing, but it certainly can have an impact.
I know that we've gotten positive response, or I have over the years, about how well you do respond. Yeah. How well our paid on call people do act and respond. In fact, I was looking over the past year for mutual aid to other surrounding districts. We've rendered 4 times as much mutual aid to others as they have to us. That's telling me we don't necessarily have a problem with guys showing up if they're not only covering what we have, but rendering mutual aid to others around us at 4 times the pace that we're receiving it. I mean, are they not? That to me sounds like it's working.
Those aren't always full trucks. Render that mutual aid, that's not always a full truck of 5. It could be 2, it could be 3. It's going to depend on.
Yeah. In a lot of those events, we'd have to go through the entire list, but we'll take the big wood chip pile fire that was all over the news here a while back. Some of those big fire events, it's not that we're responding necessarily even out to that fire. It's they start pulling in other departments, and so we go backfill at the Blendon Township station, or we'll send an engine up to Allendale. So, I mean, some of these are just bigger fire events that we're not necessarily their first responders. We're just going to backfill for some of these larger events. And specifically, if you get out in some of these more rural areas, the number of responders that they have to draw from is significantly less as well. So that's why we get pulled in. So like I said, we'd have to look at the numbers there to
Still
take a
speaks
look.
well of our
Absolutely.
of our people. I mean, very much so. And last thing before I go to the floor, I'm not in your culture, but I could imagine with having 60 guys who are kind of all on the same par, right? And they're all looking to show up and perform and serve really the community, put their lives at risk. If you hire whatever level of staffing it might be, even if it was the lowest level and you had 6 new ones, would it not be potentially the mentality of those who are part of that 60 to go, well, I didn't get chosen. Maybe 3 of ours did and you got 3 from outside somewhere. You still got 57 guys who are part of your staff who aren't, being asked to be full-time. Would they look now and the next time they get a call and think, yeah, let the full-time guys do it. They got people down at every station. I'm not, they're the big guys. They're getting paid the big bucks, and I'll pick and choose where I want to show up. Could it diminish their level of enthusiasm and commitment to jumping and getting down to the station and helping out? I'm just curious. I'm not in your
Good question.
not in your environment.
Our matrix, when we go and look at operations and set up our operations, certain calls will be based towards that full-time, quick response, get out the door. But we'll also have that strong backbone that we've had for the last 50 years here in Georgetown. I don't think we're going to have an issue with that. I really do. I think our firefighters are very dedicated to their job. They're dedicated to getting up and doing the job. I don't see it as an issue. You could probably speak more to it with a combination.
Matt, do you plan on hiring from within?
We would, yes.
Indeed.
Correct.
So if we went with more firefighters, you think we have trained staff that they would probably step in rather than hiring from outside?
Our firefighters have known that this was coming, right? I mean, the writing was on the wall with the way the whole trends are across the nation, that someday we would not have the service anymore with the units. And there are firefighters that love our culture here. They want to serve here. They want to do the job.
If we do not expand, will this cause a problem where we could be losing firefighters because they'll go, I was waiting and it's not available?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a tough question, but that's some back.
we've already lost a lot of great, I wouldn't say lost, they're still part of our organization. They've been hired in full-time with many other full-time departments, City of Walker, City of Granville, City of Wyoming, City of Grand Rapids. So, I mean, the folks that want this as a career haven't seen the opportunity here, so they've certainly moved on, and I think we're going to be hard-pressed to probably claw them back at this point. But I think to the point of the issue between, hey, are we still going to have enthusiastic part-paid folks that are going to want to show up? Keep in mind that I think the pivotal point after watching some West Michigan departments kind of go through, I guess, the end of their part-paid system. You can look at the City of Kentwood, you can look at the City of Wyoming, City of Walker struggling right now. They've been in the news relative to staffing. And I think really the thing that would keep our folks coming back, number one, not all of our people want this as a full-time job. So I think there's a lot of people that are in very well or very good paying career fields that, certainly probably wouldn't even consider this as a full-time career. I also feel that, the ability to, if we've only got 2 people working, each day, or we'll say we've got 2 and 2 or 2, 2 and 2, keeping in mind, we need at least 15 to 17 people to put out a fire. So keeping in mind, we're not going to say, hey, don't come down here because we've got full-time staff for that. We are still going to need their assistance probably just as much as ever. The big thing for us is we need to make sure that we're going to get a fire apparatus there if you call 911. And that's why we feel that our proposal to provide fire and EMS work versus a third party is the most logical way to go.
What's your perspective on millages? Do you think it's a bad idea, a good idea?
I think the only recent example, you could probably look back to 2004 in the city of Wyoming, where they had a public safety millage that was up, and I was actually a casualty of that. I spent 14 years of my career working as a career firefighter in Wyoming. I had 7 years on, and I was laid off. And so that's when they took and, and like I said, I don't want to get into Wyoming's business. This is a long time ago. But they basically shut down their fire stations and shoved everybody up to the central station. And you've got,
Lack of renewal.
lack of renewal. That is correct. Or they were looking to get a millage, for public safety just because of the economic downturn. And the voters spoke and said, hey, there's a lot of politics that went along with that. But ultimately, the police department and the fire department was cut. And so, certainly can you, increase the millage rate to provide services? Certainly, you've got the ability to do that. Like I said, I think certainly helping out with upfront with some grant funding is a great idea. Obviously, we're heading down that road with the SAFER grant, but long term, ultimately, it's a service that doesn't really generate revenue. And kind of going back to the services meeting that was had here a couple weeks ago, was really the ready to serve cost, right? I mean, we're the folks that are trained, ready to go, and waiting for that call for service. Generally, no different than the sheriff's office, a little bit different scope of work. But ultimately, it's not that our folks would be busy 24 hours a day, but Chief DeWitt's got an entire great plan for these folks, during the downtime to make it the best fire department that we can. So,
Well, I appreciate everything that you guys do for our township, and I think I speak for everybody here, that you guys are definitely very valuable asset to our community.
I read between the lines in your answer right there, you'd prefer to see us raise the millage rate to cover the expense as opposed to having it be a separately voted on item for the public, because it could go one way or the other.
yeah, it could go one way or the other. And I think if you take a look at, I think it goes back to Justin's proposed budget, where it says, here's what we're bound to do as a township. I guess to me, unless you're going to contract out fire services in general, I think the fire department needs to be, on that list. And so, to me, that's not an optional service. And so I guess how you, choose to fund that or whatever, obviously that's your prerogative. But, at least in my mind, it is a core service of any community.
You mentioned City of Wyoming, they eventually did pass, I think later, got a vote that was important. And did they not force out their paid on calls? Like, are they done with the whole paid on call thing?
So I can tell you in 1997, there were 60 plus part paid individuals. And when I left there in 2011, there were 19. And there are issues that I won't get into up here, but certainly a lot of things going on with that group and how that was managed and that sort of thing that was, a detriment. But if you take a look at the national scene and you take a look at volunteerism, not just in the fire service, but in particular the fire service, the number of part paid or volunteer firefighters is shrinking significantly across the country. You can Google it and you can come up with the exact numbers, but I mean, it is a huge time commitment for folks to join the ranks. And so, 15 years from now, as Georgetown continues to, potentially lose interested candidates and some of the folks that have been on for a long time, age out and walk out the door, what is that candidate pool going to look like? We don't really know. And so, I mean, you're going to certainly have, down the road decisions to make as it relates to, that dichotomy when that happens, right?
Do I have too rosy of assumptions to think that our paid on calls are so dedicated that they would continue despite the trends we're seeing?
I believe our folks that are on are dedicated, but I do think that we've got a large group of people that have been on 20 plus years. And so, once they get up to the 30 years, I mean, they're, maybe up in their 60s or so, I mean, they're looking to, turn the page in the book and like officially retire and move on with life versus living by a pager, every day and night. I mean, that's a big commitment.
Yeah. Well, hence the cadet program, right?
Indeed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
How much support staff do you see beyond, like, let's say you propose 27 firemen? Who's going to do the books for all that stuff and the HR? And it just seems like we're going to be looking at more than 27. We're looking at another 2 or 3 individuals to be able to do the behind the scenes bookkeeping part of it.
So I guess 27 is certainly, I mean, you're almost doubling the township staff based on the budget that was presented.
Yeah, but you proposed it, so.
And it's an option, for sure. And so keep in mind, right now, Todd Hauer, who was just put on this year, handles all of our payroll up at Station 2. I can certainly tell you that, or not at Station 2, throughout the township. And then, as far as administrative stuff that goes on, generally, unless it's a serious violation or something of policy, generally the chief and myself handle the majority of things internally. Now are there, HR benefits administration? I mean, certain things that come along with a full-time employee? Absolutely. And I guess I can't speak to the capacity that Justin has currently, and what that would look like down the road. I mean, I can't speculate to that. Maybe he wants to speak to it. But from a, internal standpoint, do you believe that we need to add anybody else other than firefighters? Internally, we don't believe we need to add anybody else.
The other thing too is you said something about, well, if somebody's taken from Station 2, and then we know the call here, but I don't think we can make the assumption that Life EMS is totally out of the picture if we don't use them in the option that Justin put together. When a call's made, if Life EMS isn't part of us hiring them as a third party, they're still going to show up at the call, right?
Yeah, but that's the big difference between what the Justin's proposal is talking BLS, right? So that is one person, so it could be me sitting in an Explorer waiting for a medical call for service. I don't have the ability to transport anyone to the hospital. I don't have those advanced level skills.
Right.
So yes, life will still show up.
Right.
What we're specifically referring to is the first responder services. And like I said, we just feel that there's a whole lot more flexibility in the services offered with the fire department versus an individual sitting in an Explorer.
But I have the same question. What are you going to do with all the individuals sitting in a station when they're not on calls?
Go ahead.
Oh.
You want to speak to that?
No, training,
I got a list.
looking at our trucks, cleanup. They will basically adopt that station as their own. A lot of those tasks are handled by the paid on call right now. A lot of those things now we can turn over to the full-time guys to have them do it, and we don't have to pay the paid on call guys to do it. We have truck checks, there's ongoing training, physical agility stuff, maintaining the stations, a lot of different things that we'll have them do.
Go in the cemetery?
Going to the cemetery.
Good one, Gary. There you go.
But what I'm saying is they're going to have a lot of different services that they can provide. I also, as a chief, want to make this community heart safe. And part of that is not just adding staff to help our cardiac events. Our cardiac events are very low in this area. If you have a cardiac event in Georgetown, your survivability walking out of the hospital is pretty low. And I would like to enhance that. That's not just adding more firefighters.
Right.
That is also training the public in CPR. We've got a couple of apps that we can, when we have pushed out, Pulse Point, that can alert somebody that their neighbor's having a cardiac issue, that kind of thing. So I want to look at the whole picture of our community, not just adding the additional firefighters, but then having our firefighters go to, we'd like to work with the library and Rob and then present CPR classes that we can educate our citizens in CPR. Because truly, that's saving a life in that 4 to 6 minutes. It's going to be about your neighbor coming over and starting CPR. It's going to be whoever is around you starting CPR that's going to save your life, right? Not necessarily any of the responders getting there from whatever agency it is.
Do the schools
That's-
do CPR?
Yes, they do. Yep, they do.
Okay.
So by offering those classes, we can educate more of our public and we can overall take care of this problem and not just throwing firefighters or EMS or whatever at it. So Holland City currently has adopted this. They are a heart-safe community. They train over 2,000 public every year in CPR.
That's awesome.
And that's the model I've been looking at and trying to say, okay, let's look at the big picture. It's not just about adding staff, but it's adding more ways to educate our public to have more people walk out of the hospital with those kind of.
Yeah, we have 32 full-time people here.
Yep.
And then I agree with Gary, like with support staff, we could be approaching doubling the amount of people we have. I don't see how we do this without having a safety millage. Or we have to go to the public and say, okay, we're talking some real mill increase. But a safety millage gives them a chance to vote on it, but it also gives them a chance to be educated, to learn about it. This is going to hit a lot of people right out of the blue. They're not going to understand it. They're getting hit with all these increases in utilities, and now we're saying to them, we have to double. We have 4 people full-time right now. I think what Justin's looking at right now is more than doubling that to 5. Do we go to 12? Do we go to 27?
So we were asked, what is the closest to what we have now currently? So at any given time, we have up to 3 units on. Okay, so that's 3 individual cars driving around ready for a medical call. That third one's not always on. It's more like 2. So we looked at our proposals, and this proposal here with having 2 and 2 is the closest to maintaining our current level of response with having 2 units available. Like I said, the benefit is we can cross-train our guys to do the fire side, which also helps the fire staffing problem. So we feel this is a great starting point at a very low to cost entry compared to the other proposals. We understand the other proposals are way up there. And that's why we're looking at the infrastructure things. We can get started today with sleeping quarters. We can get started today with all of our current internal staff for maintaining the what do you want to say, the payroll and all those kind of things. We can get started today with that. We understand there's a lot of other issues that you guys are tackling as a board. So that's why we're recommending that you can get the most bang for the buck by having firefighters that can do both the EMS and the fire staffing.
We're only 8% of the entire taxes, and people do not understand that at all. To give them an opportunity to vote, usually for safety, people will vote for that. The school district is incredibly successful at doing that. And that's where by far, I think it's 65% or better of all taxes go for that. You guys are passionate. Your paperwork is incredible, very detailed, did a beautiful job on it. But to me, the salespeople of this, and I'd have a different attitude and I'd be saying, please let us go for a safety millage. We're looking at 2 more people for the sheriff's department possibly. And we need this in the community, and then you sell it. And I think you'd be successful. Instead, I'm a little nervous that you're saying we need to take it on, figure out how we're going to do it, and then maybe go to the public and say, these are wonderful people. Let's raise the millage for them. And they're going to say to us, why not have a vote on it? Let us hear the facts. And I think this could be promoted tremendously. And I believe it'd pass. I don't know what you would ask for, what would be involved, but I tremendously lean that way.
I'll be honest.
I've been pretty quiet through this whole thing, actually. I think if we really sit down to it and go to 2 and 2, which would give us at least what the unit did, if not better, and it is a amount of money. It's like 1.2 or whatever, but it's not out of reach. If we don't do what life is, take off the 400 or 310,000, 90,000, whatever it is. We've got a fire truck to sell here coming up in a few months. If we can get a safer grant for the sheriff for the 2, I think there's a lot of different options that we can at least get what we need to do right now with a good EMT level through our firemen, and plus give us at least 4 more, 5 more firemen that can help us during the day instead of running 2 stations. Maybe we're running 1 station and cut down. We could save some money on some of those. We won't have to have the full part-time, maybe as much. But granted, when I was running myself 400 or 500 calls, that was a lot of calls. Well, now we're upping them to 800. If they went back down to 400 or 500, they probably wouldn't care about that as much. At least they get some time with their family. They still get the training that they need. And then it's good for at least 5 years. I mean, we've had enough areas in our stations that they're recommending that they can do what they need to do there as far as sleeping quarters, this and that, next thing. Besides keep up the equipment, you don't really hardly understand how much there is. I mean, every day stuff's got to be checked. There's a FCBA's got to be checked once a month. Truck's got to be checked once a month. every day when those guys go in, they can make sure all the equipment's, everything's battery operated now, or the battery's all set. I mean, there's just a list of teeny little things, but time flies, and that stuff takes almost all day to get done. I don't think we have to think too far up the road yet. If we can get 5 years, and if, like John said, if it would come down that we get a plan from what Justin's got in there of infrastructure to see what we need to do for the buildings or whatever, see what that comes to. If it's $1 billion, 5, I mean, we did a DPW's for 6. I can't see it being near that much money, but then let's see.
DPW wasn't 6, it was 4.
4, okay, sorry. I can't see it really being that much to break out a few walls and make some corners or whatever, but I don't know. But I think we can make this thing work. I don't think it's going to cost us, but I think it's doable right now.
Which proposal would you go for?
2 and 2. I would go 2 and 2. And
Proposal 3 or?
Yeah, I think it's proposal 3 or whatever.
Okay.
I don't think, it's brought up to me once, is like Life EMS, nothing against Life. We need them. We have to have the basic life support, advanced life support. I mean, they're there for their percentage of work that they have to do, and they do a great job. We ride in with them a lot. They're constantly, we got a class 1 firefighter jumps in, and we help them out. Good relationship with them all the way through. But just to have just that one person just doing that, and we're still having to cover, I think where I was going to go with is like, we're paying them to do this service that somebody told me, but then when the ambulance comes, if we don't need a transport, they're going to charge us, and then we do transport, they're going to charge us, but we're also paying for that one rig to be here. And some like, is that counterintuitive? If that's the right word. As far as the financial part of it there, it was just something that somebody brought up to me too. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a good point. But, I mean, I'm almost ready to like to make a motion, even though it's a discussion, that we take the 2 life proposals out and focus strictly on the fire and make it a little bit easier maybe for the service committee. And let's move on from there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think we need to be sold on anything. The fact of the matter is that we no longer have an E unit, and we have to make this decision. And I would agree, right? When we look at the needs of the township and we say statutorily we're required to do 3 things: elections, assessing, and taxes. But at the end of the day, I would say that, we also use the terminology health, safety, and welfare a lot. Our job is just to provide for health, safety, and welfare. And I can't think of something more, synonymous with health, safety, and welfare than our own fire department. And so to me, if I was to take a millage to the public for anything, it would be for something that's superfluous. It's no offense, we have a great library, but it's a library, it's parks and recreation, it's things that are unnecessary, and they're great additional services. But I don't think we have a choice about providing for the health, safety, and welfare of our residents through our fire department. And so that's where I see this going. I just don't think that I want to chance my life on a public safety millage. I know I had brought it up for discussion purposes. I just don't think it's the right way to go. And I also think that we have left a lot of discussion on the table yet. I mean, we have a $2 million road resurfacing budget, and I know for a fact my road did not need to be resurfaced last year. It probably could have waited 5 more years. So, if we want to get creative with the budget that we have, we can continue to draw out our road resurfacing to longer times. We can potentially cut back on the amount of playground infrastructure we have. I mean, we offer the almost nearly identical slides and swings and, jungle gyms at every single park, and it's great. But those are things to me that are the fun add-ons. And when you look at running a budget of a community, I think first and foremost, my personal budget is my mortgage and groceries for my family and car insurance and gas in my car, and vacations are extra. I try to plan for them, but if I had an emergency and I had to pull from my vacation fund, that's pulling from my playground fund or, an additional self-checkout at the library. Those are things to me that are only items that you add in when you know you have enough extra, the fire department is not something that I'm willing to take a chance on. And I agree. I don't think the comparison of Life EMS services to the township fire department services is apples to apples. There's no way it can be apples to apples. And so when we talk about trying to just compare the medical, I don't think we're doing ourselves any favors because we do have an additional problem in terms of the staffing. If I take the expert's word on it, then I don't think we can isolate the medical and compare that apples to apples because we still have this issue then to address. So I agree that I don't personally support the idea of either of the Life EMS proposals, and I would rather have our board just look at the staffing options provided in the fire department's memo.
Sincere question to you. If I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, in all sincerity, the fire staffing issue came almost as out of the blue to me, right? I hear about the sheriff's department issue and dropping the unit service. Boy, we've got to address that. That's a big deal. How are we going to address that? And then here comes along the fire staffing, which you'd say, well, it's been evident for a while, but not to me, right? Not in your world. If I look at it and say, this is of such substance that I want to study it, that I want to consider it, I mean, you think it's so dire that for someone as a board member to say, let's not act like right now, but let's see how things play out over, say, a 12-month period. How does this transition go? How is it working? Is what you're saying proving true? Do we have more of that evidence? Is it fair to want to take sort of that study period? You feel like, no, we're past that. You didn't know about it, but we're already at the point where if you don't act, you're impudent. You know, you're just not.
Well, yeah, so I think the acknowledgement when we added 2 stations during the day, right? So, I mean, let's just picture tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., there's a car fire in your parking lot here at the township office, right? Because we had issues with responders during the day, in particular, down at Station 2, we added on a full another station, right? So we've got 18 people that are being notified there's a fire out of this station. We've got 18 to 20 firefighters over here that are being notified. We're toning out 38 people with the hopes of minimally getting 2 people with a fire truck, right? And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this past Saturday when you get a brush fire that happens in the community and the station that the fire happens in has nobody that shows up. I mean, we are living this, right? And so it's, to me, this was the time versus saying, hey, let's just focus in on the EMS stuff. It's, I don't know if you want to call it perfect timing. I don't know if you want to call it coincidental. But I mean, we've been living this. And so what we're proposing, in particular, when you're talking 2 and 2 or 3 and 2, we're talking about minimal level of coverage just to make sure we get a fire truck to your home in a timely manner, or a fire truck period, for a minor incident. Like I said, for a big fire event, we're going to tone out all 3 stations, right? During the day, we're probably not going to hit that 15 to 17 firefighters. If you were to tone that out right now, we certainly would. But like I said, if you layer on the additional medical responsibilities and a good response time with that, the guaranteed couple of firefighters that are going to respond from each station on a fire truck or a medical apparatus, to me, that's our approach. We weren't saying if we're going to the 3, 3, and 3. There's actually better gold standard models out there. We did not feel that if you were to go compare yourself to a City of Grand Rapids Fire Department, City of Phoenix Fire Department, pick your poison with a big urban department. What we are proposing here, they would not be looking at all, right? And so, but we're trying to balance, how do we keep our part paid guys, or guys and gals actually, engaged? How do we have some good response times for EMS and fire events, and we can take care of the community? I mean, and we're looking at it through the fiscal lens. And I think one thing that really wasn't highlighted in the budget process is, I don't know if you looked at the fire department budget last year compared to this year's budget. Last year, we certainly appreciate it. We budgeted a new vehicle for the chief, which actually just put in service. We got some extrication equipment for the fire trucks. We got compressors, we got dryers for the turnout gear. You probably remember seeing some of those come forward. And so we had one-time expenditures of almost $600,000 our budget that we submitted to Justin this year carved out, I'll say, probably $450,000 out of that one-time expenditures. Also, keep in mind the ARPA funds for the fire truck were incorporated in our budget. But if you back out all those one-time expenditures, we're really down to, you know, those capital items, AEDs, which were on the bottom of the draft budget, AEDs, some e-tools, which are Milwaukee tools for our folks to use, some mannequins to do CPR for that HeartSafe program. So I mean, we're really down from $600,000 almost down to $100,000 outside of inflationary costs. And because we knew that we were going to be pushing these proposals forward, we sharpened the pencil. We went as lean as we could with our operational costs to help try and offset some of these costs that may be incurred by the program.
If I can be devil's advocate real quickly, you've got, how many officers for the police department are we losing from the sheriff's department? How many service? Full-time? Pardon me? No. For EMS, there's how many?
So you're talking the paramedic?
The paramedics?
Oh, I'm talking for the sheriff's services that we're losing right now.
7.
Terry is gonna come up here a little bit, so I think maybe we should put in that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
He's going to get it.
Thank you.
But speaking a little bit to your, you know, this is, it seems like it just all of a sudden came to a head, but, and I'm not going to get into, but this has been coming on for a long time, but due to some politics and whatever else was involved, nothing's happened until the perfect storm right now that we've got to do EMS and we can do fire along with it. So this hasn't just come up in the last 3 months. This is, even as me as a deputy chief back in the day, has been discussed, but I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that, but this, the political thing of it has slowed the process.
That was my question too. It's like, how do we morph from needing EMS to fire?
This has been out there
I was
for a while.
reminded of Rahm Emanuel used to say, never let a crisis go to waste. And I thought, is that what's happening? We got a crisis, so hey, let's move on to the next thing right away. And that was always my question. And it may have been a conversation. Just that we're put into this thing. We needed to replace the E unit, and then we get a 26-page report on how we need to upgrade the fire department. And the E unit seems like it's, my concern is the E unit is down here. Fire department's way up here. That's the way I read that report that you sent out. I'm like, wow. Fire? Yeah. I used to tell the fire department, if my wife and kids are in the front yard, go around the block. Let that sucker burn to the basement. I'll build a new one. That's what insurance is for. So that was my position on that. I want my kids and wife safe, but the building, structure, nah. Not my concern.
I have a two-part question here. Number one, other townships, other cities, size of Georgetown, they say Kentwood, we're similar residents. How many full-time firefighters do they have? And then when we look at our roster of 60 guys, do you feel that there's 20 guys that would say, yep, I'm quitting my 9 to 5 and I'm gonna be a full-time Georgetown firefighter? Do you think we would fill those vacancies or fill those numbers just with what we have right now, where guys would just say, yep, I worked here for 10 years, I don't want to do that, I'm going to come right over here and be a full-time firefighter?
Yeah, so I think we can, that's probably the easier question up front is, Chief DeWitt and myself here about a month ago said, who do we feel would leave their current career and work for Georgetown Fire Department? I believe it was 16 or 17 individuals. I don't think we would get 27. But once again, we feel, and that's without, soliciting any feedback, 16 or 17 members we believe would join the Georgetown Fire Department. Now, if you're taking a look at like the city of Kentwood Fire Department, actually, I just talked with their Deputy Chief, Mike Hipp, who's actually getting ready to retire here at the end of the year. And don't quote me, but I want to say that they're up to 14 people working per day in the city of Kentwood. So obviously a totally different demographic. But if you look at their taxable value, which we provide at the back end of this report, many of these communities have actually got a lesser taxable value than what we do, right? But so you take 14 people working per day times 3. So, that's their staffing level. Plus they've got a chief, a deputy chief, admin assistant or 2. I mean, so they're a pretty decent sized department, probably a $9 million budget. I think somebody had looked at it or talked about like a $9 million budget. So that would be the comparison with city of Kentwood, if that's what you're looking at in
I
particular.
guess I'm just looking at similar size, whether it's Kentwood, whether it's, another township over by Lansing or whatever it might
Yeah,
be.
could you scroll up
Kentwood has
in the
more
report?
businesses and restaurants and
There were a couple of them
structures than
that
we
were in
do.
here.
Yeah.
Maybe all the way up to the top and then
Not comparing apples to apples.
do that. Oh, it's way up at the
Almost
top.
10 o'clock, wow. I'm glad we don't have a service.
Yeah, I guess we don't get too crazy into the numbers. I just,
Oh, there you go.
if,
Nope,
Yeah.
you just passed it.
of us putting on a total of 27 or 18 with plus our 4 or 5 that we have right now, with 20 full-time with 55,000 residents and 34 square miles, how does that compare to other people like us?
Yeah, so you could take a look at Gaines Township, obviously a little bit different demographic. Their population is 28,886. I got these numbers directly from their chief, and there's some explanation about some of these departments are adding some additional staff. City of Granville's got 12 full-time staff members for 16,000 population. Once again, their square mileage is between 7 and 8 square miles. Byron Township reported that they've got 9 currently, and I believe that they're actually adding a bunch more because they're building a second station at 68th and 131. So, and then obviously you can see Georgetown Township with 4.
Also, Walker just had this come up, and they just went to for 28,000. We're looking,
55, yep. I forgot we had Sergeant yet. We probably should let Sergeant Tamiga take a shot at us here. No pun intended.
He wants to go home.
Hey, sorry to disturb you back there. Did I wake you up?
Thank you, gentlemen. Excellent.
Yep. Thank you. Oh, wait, you're not done yet?
So Amber, you want to go back to the proposal here? Let's see. So fire considerations, Chief and Deputy Chief talked about this. What's changed? This is a picture from YouTube with permission from my neighbor who lived in this house, their house basically burned to the ground, and he rebuilt. And fast forward, this was 3 years ago on Labor Day weekend. My wife actually took this picture after my pager went off, and I went to the station to help go put it out. The past year, the average response time has been 10 minutes and 9 seconds. And like they said, the NFPA sets the standard for minimum requirements for organization, deployment, fire suppression, emergency medical operations, special operations by volunteer and combination fire departments. I have the NFPA standards. This is, not a number I picked out of the sky. This is a nationally recognized standard that they put out there. So after we went through this process, I did a 1-year snapshot of structure fires, and we looked at the average response time. Currently in Georgetown Township, if your house is on fire, historically, it's going to take 10 minutes and 9 seconds for your house, for the fire department to show up with 4.5 people on that first engine. We had, $3.1 million in damages, and we had one large outlier in that
We're all right there.
1-year snapshot. So this question came up, we're like, what does our houses look like? We're a growing community. I don't disagree that we're growing, but we look at the plateau of when houses were built in Georgetown Township, and I think we're averaging now about 70 houses and condos combined per year. So that trajectory that we're having is in 2000s will probably be roughly 1,500. But I'd say can things stay as they are, we are starting to fill, if that makes sense. So, but most of our homes have been built in this really 1970s or later. So I looked at our paid on-call wages, and our paid on-call wages, basically for the past 2 years in June, have been $50,000 a year.
Sorry, 50,000, you said a year.
I'm sorry, a month. So in 1 month, we're spending $50,000 on our paid on call to make the calls. So I'm going to turn this over to Sergeant Tamiga. He's been waiting patiently in the background here. And he's going to talk about the sheriff's office, how we're deployed, what we're spending, and after the said and done, what the unit's going to cost is it's the savings to the township will be $56,000 a year. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thanks for being so patient.
Hey, you're welcome. Again, just for the public too, Sergeant Michael Tamiga. I'm the sergeant that's assigned from the sheriff's office to supervise the 14 full-time deputies that are assigned to Georgetown Township through the contract that you guys have with our office. You know, I guess one of the things that I've came to the forefront of my mind as I've been listening to this part of the conversation and all of the information that's passed along, nothing's been brought up that you guys aren't losing any police officers. You're losing paramedic response police officers, but you're not losing, at this point, any police officers. Every medical that's going to get dispatched, you're still going to get police officers that know CPR, that know, several of which are still going to be the paramedics. They're not going to be in licensed paramedic cruisers, but they're still going to have all of that training, all of those 20 plus years of paramedic experience. Granted, they're not going to be able to perform as a paramedic because they're not going to have the equipment and the drugs and things like that. But it's not going to be just Life EMS, whatever you decide to go to, Life EMS is going to respond anyways, or the fire department. You're still getting police officers that are going to respond to these medicals to assist and to perform whatever we can when we arrive, that are going to be on duty and stuff like that. So that was just part of the conversation that hasn't been a part of the conversation yet, and I don't want you guys to lose sight of that. To whatever weight you want to put into that, that's up for you guys to decide.
If they beat everyone else there, Sarge, then...
Every single time.
Okay, no, if they beat everyone else there, can they do anything?
Absolutely.
Even once...
Yep. So we'll have, every one of our cruisers has an AED in our cruisers. That's been the case for the last, I don't know how many years, at least 15 years since I've been on the department. So we're going to have that AED. So on the cardiac arrest, that's going to be the first thing anyways that we're going to do. I mean, if the individual's not responsive, they're not breathing, they don't have a pulse, that AED is going to be the first thing that gets hooked up anyways. It's obviously not the life pack that the paramedics had, because that's what we're losing with our licensure. But it's still that AED that's going to provide that shock if that individual needs that shock immediately. Yep. Also, our deputies are able to perform CPR, which is what we would do anyways if we showed up. One individual is going to start CPR. One individual is going to hook up that AED if the fire department's not there yet either, or life. So
How many licensed paramedics are we losing per day?
7 per day.
Yes. Or be in a
Right.
24-hour
So
period.
you have 7 now, and those 7.
7 they run in a shift.
Right. So those 7 are split across 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So when you take those 7, just like Justin had that kind of that visual up here earlier, from 6 a.m. to depending on the day, usually from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. you have 1 paramedic. Sometimes 2 because we're offset with that 7th. Sometimes a paramedic comes in at 9 a.m., so it just depends on the day and the time of day. But virtually you have 1 paramedic from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. you could have up to 3, but mainly 2. And then from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. you still have 2. And then from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. you have only 1 paramedic. So we have that spread out through
4 or 5 a day?
Period. You have no more than 3 a day.
Okay, 3 a day.
3 a day.
Okay.
Is the maximum number of paramedics that we have in our cruisers now. But that's only going to be, the most time you're going to have 3 in a day is from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m.
Okay.
Those are that's the time frame. If we have 3 on, that you'll have 3. Other than that, you'll have 2 on for the majority of the part of the rest of the day.
Is it 24 hours a day then? No.
Yes. We have 24-hour day coverage short of a sick call that we don't have. If we have already got one or 2 guys on vacation and we're down to 1 paramedic and a guy calls in sick, those are the days that the fire department we're talking about where I would call Chief DeWitt and say, hey, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. or whatever, we aren't going to have coverage in an E unit. So there are times where the E units, based on our coverage and our staffing, where we just weren't able to get a paramedic on duty.
Okay, thank you.
Have we gotten more paramedics now because it's fallen off in other townships, so too?
So across the county, yeah, we still have, I would say 12 or 13 licensed paramedics that still possess their license from the state of Michigan as a paramedic within the sheriff's office.
But they've been put into Georgetown because the other townships have lost them already, right?
So we still have 7.
Okay.
The other 7 or so are assigned throughout all of Ottawa County in different positions now. Obviously not in paramedic licensed cruisers.
So we really should have almost better coverage with sheriff's department if they get off the paramedic list, so we can add them to the 5 we already have to make it.
Say that again.
If we take the 7 E units that we already have that are running all these odd shifts, we put them with our 5 policing officers that we have right now, we should actually have better response for them to make some of these medical calls to help out assist or whatever because of the
Probably
rotation.
still only have the same number of cars on each
Because of
day,
the
right?
rotation stuff, you'd be able to cover a lot better than you would just with the unit.
It's going to stay the same.
Is it? Okay.
Just based on the number of calls we have during the times of day, that 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Is our busiest time of day. So that's when we have the most officers on. And Justin and I have talked about this. This is our coverage map here just for the E units. This isn't going to change once that paramedic license is removed from those cars. This is the best coverage we get based on our call volume and the times of day. And we're offset, and that's part of the equation in the conversation that Justin and I had about when he came to me some time ago about, hey, are we good, we bad? And my suggestion was, yeah, we could use, potentially 2 additional officers to help with the coverage where some days we have great coverage, and then because we have that odd deputy, that 7th deputy, to add it to the opposite squad would help that coverage time where we have more calls for service, where half the days of the week we don't have that guy because we have an odd number. Does that make sense? But one of those deputies that Justin proposed in that was to even that out, to help cover that spread of coverage for response to calls. So, and I know the sheriff was here last week. I watched the video, or 2 weeks ago. I have all the numbers here. He was pretty spot on. We're at about 70 to 75%, depending on the year of calls for service. That where our paramedic deputies are spending that much, only 25 to 30% of their time responding to the medicals. The other 70+% is on law enforcement, police related stuff, other calls for service, investigations, traffic related complaints. Traffic is our number. If you consider traffic crashes in addition to the traffic related calls for service, that is our number 1 call for service, is traffic related stuff in Georgetown Township, by far, even more than medicals.
So if a call goes out, let's say I have a heart attack to my wife calls 911. The police automatically show up too, right?
Correct.
The fire department pretty much shows up.
Correct.
And Life EMS shows up.
Yes, Life gets dispatched. All 3 of us go. And that's not going to change. No matter what package you decide, none of that is changing.
Everybody's still showing up.
We're all 3 still showing up.
And you just can't do a heart attack with two people either.
No.
You need everybody
Right.
to do it. Everything that happens, if you're going to do a save, it's
So-
not only you need advanced life support if it's
Yep.
really bad, but you need people
I get-
doing CPR, you need the Lucas tool, you need the AED, you need oxygen.
Right.
Just can't do it with just a couple guys. That's all we work
Village.
together, yeah.
But life is just showing up the capacity of an ambulance, and that could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
Well,
20 minutes.
so right now, and this is another part of the equation. We talk about response times and all these things. You're losing the paramedic response from the sheriff's office. The only other agency that's going to provide that level of care, that advanced life support, is life. As far as I know, the fire department doesn't, I think the highest they want to go is the EMT. That is, when you look at your grid there, that's two or three rungs down from that paramedic service. So the only other agency that's going to be able to provide that advanced life support, providing the drugs and the life pack and all of these things that are at that level, is life, period. So they have to come. Life is more than just the transport. They're going to be the ones now that have to provide that additional advanced life support, getting that IV in and pushing the drugs in as we're doing CPR and all of the other stuff that those of us that aren't paramedics can do. They still have to provide that level of care that we no longer can.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a level of care that has to be provided, and the only other agency that can is life. And that's at that paramedic level.
Do you care to wade into this with an opinion about what you think is best?
Kick in.
Yeah, come on. You're wearing a gun.
Yeah, the only thing I can really provide is just, I know there's been some conversation about, does the township, and I think it's an appropriate question. If you guys weren't asking the question, you wouldn't be doing your due diligence as elected officials.
Right.
If we're losing this level of care as paramedics, do we still need that number of law enforcement officers to provide law enforcement services to Georgetown Township? I have an opinion on that. If you want it, I'll give it to you.
Yes.
100%, just like what I said. I mean, just shy of 10,000 calls for service for law enforcement. And that includes the medicals, which we're still going to respond to. So it's not like we're dropping off and just not responding to medicals anymore because we don't have that paramedic badge on. We're still coming. We still have oxygen. We still have, the AED in our hands to do CPR. So with that just shy of 10,000 calls for service, our E-units responded to about just shy of 6,500 of those. And that, again, that includes medicals. So, that's 1,800, just shy of 1,900 of those were medicals. So, that's an average of 905 calls for service that each individual E-unit deputy is responding to per year. So if we think about, hey, we're going to try to transfer some of these law enforcement deputies over to the fire side for financial reasons, just consider now you're just removing a deputy that's going to respond to about 1,000 calls for service a year per deputy. That could potentially impact the amount of deputies that would be available for your calls for service when a call comes in, no matter what type of call it is. These are the types of thing, the bigger picture that I want you to just be considerate of when you have to start making these decisions.
What's the average response time for you guys on a 911 call?
I think the sheriff quoted last week that it's just over a minute from the time the 911 call comes in to the time that call is then dispatched to one of our police officers. That specific number I didn't look at today. I can absolutely get that here in the next.
Do you beat the fire department there?
What's that?
Do you beat the fire department there?
Sometimes they beat us there. Sometimes life beats us there.
Yeah.
Obviously, life doesn't have the amount of paramedics. I've been on several, priority calls where I'm pulling in after life. and, after the fire department. Sometimes we're the last ones. It depends. There's so many factors that go into that. But, oh.
All right.
Any other questions that you think I can answer to help from the law enforcement perspective?
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's bring this home here.
Yeah, thank
It's been a long night. So steps moving forward. Tonight, last week or 2 weeks ago, we had the service discussion. The township board, we're talking about today. 9/22, the services gives a recommendation. And on 10/13, board gives the final approval for next EMS level. Notice I put an asterisk that I extended this 30 days after getting approval from the sheriff's office and Eric DeBoer's office, so that this can co-align with our SAFER grant. So we do not have to make a decision today. We can sit on this for a little bit. We can get feedback from our residents, and then we can make an educated decision moving forward.
Good.
Funding. This has been hit on by multiple board members and chief and deputy chief. We looked at a public safety millage and had Amber put together the deadlines if we wanted to put it on the ballot. And those are listed on May 5. If you wanted to do that one would cost us around $60,000 because that's typically a school election. And if we have something on the ballot, basically the school gets it for free. How it works out. But for the August 4 and November 3, if the state will have a governor's race, we can put something on the ballot and we would get it for free. We also could do a special assessment, public notice for the entire township. We'd have to do a public hearing, similar to what we did for the liquor license today. We could also increase the millage increase, where current budget is based on 2.25 mils. Our current fund or balance is we're going to draw down the rainy day fund for whatever decision we choose as the board. I asked this from one of the board members. They said, okay, what does this look like for Georgetown Township? The one good thing is this column is Georgetown. If you look down, we don't have anything extra. We're all in at 2.25 mils. You compare that to the spectrum of other jurisdictions in Ottawa County there's a few like Allendale, I believe Hudsonville, but you look at the millage rate of 2.833 and Allendale at 2.7422. We're blessed here, but also we have some hard decisions moving forward. Any questions, comments for me?
Can you provide that slide to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all this will be on our minutes posted tomorrow.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. And I assume we've got some of our fire guys in the back there, I'm guessing, but thank you as well for being here. Okay, that closes item 15. Item 16, second public comment period. Anyone here tonight who wishes to address the board on any topic, whether ones you've just heard or other items, you're welcome to do so at this time.
Still Michael Bosch, 3245 Golden Oak Court. Earlier, I think Kelly had, what if we asked the public what they wanted? Actually, we did that 3 years ago, and I'm hoping all of you, especially board members that were here at the time, read those surveys, because we had 2,700 respondents from the township. The number one answer was, stop wasting my money. You can read the responses in that survey just 3 years ago. So if you want to get a pulse of what the community thinks, it's right there. A great presentation tonight from both the fire department and the law enforcement end. It kind of puts things in perspective. Safety is important. So why are we spending $2 million on pickleball? It just seems crazy. It's kind of a slap back into reality. What else we got? The budget. Wow. I've looked at 11 years. For 11 years, I've been looking at budgets. This one's a doozy. First thing somebody asked me about it, I'm like, wow, it's bloated and loaded with pork. If you compare our revenues in 2023, 27 million, we're up $10 million in revenue. Well, how are we doing that? We're overtaxing our residents. We're gouging on water and sewer. I saw an article, Wood TV 8, Wyoming water manager. I don't know why Georgetown raised it so high. We didn't raise it that high. We need to be smart with our money. Spending $6 million for a building that was a want and not a need, that doesn't help. We could go back as far as Kmart. We lost millions on that boondoggle. The cell towers that we sold, we've already passed the point of the ROI on that one. That was 2 years ago. One board member's like, well, I don't even know if we'll be using cell phones by the time. Yeah, here we are. We would have got our 1.5 million in revenue, and we'd be making about 160,000 per year from cell tower leases. And the short-sightedness, and it's not all the board members. Some have been here for all of it. Kmart, the library, the rock pile, Stubby the clock tower, millions and millions of dollars. The ice arena, we left millions on the table. These poor financial decisions are costing taxpayers, and we're going to end up paying for it. You're talking about raising the millage? Good luck with that. There will be an outrage. It just blows my mind. And somebody was saying, like, the township is good at two things: making poor financial decisions and making excuses. It's always propaganda. The sky is falling. We got to do this now. We got to do this now. We don't have a choice. Yes, we do. We got a big water project. True. Guess what? Our infrastructure is at 1/3 life right now. Yes, we got some pipes that are 50, 60 years old, but overall, 1/3. We're doing pretty good. Now, it doesn't mean we kick back and coast and don't do anything. We need to be smart. These pipes that are going down in 48, what's the life expectancy? 60 years? 70? Yeah. We don't need to gouge people and pay for it in 4.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Let me bend the knee. P. Plowman, Georgetown, 6877 Creek Ridge Court. Bend the knee to Jim Waringa.
Okay, now I know where you live. Come see you.
You know, well, let's go to the aside. I mean, the young man that was up here, Jonathan Haas, he didn't give his address, but you only enforce stuff when you want to. Just like Gene DeWitt, when he was chief, he did not take a leave of absence when he ran for office.
I don't think personal attacks or names being mentioned should be allowed.
No, you have a point about tonight, so go ahead.
So, you know, and then when you have a nepotism rule, but that wasn't applied to Gene DeWitt and Matt DeWitt. So what the heck? Let's go to the point.
Truly.
So the director of Wyoming DPW said that while it did raise rates for the contract and municipal customers, it was not enough to justify Georgetown's major rate hikes. So where's this money being spent? So are you going to itemize to the public where all this money is now being spent for the water and sewer? You know, itemize exactly how it's being spent? I mean, everybody but Ms. Kuiper and Kevin Kelly voted against transparency. I think you should itemize all that to everybody. At the same time, you are looking at the EMS units probably the wrong way. I think you should let the fire department do what they're best at, putting out fires and handling fires and handling those calls. We heard that Life EMS is the only one that can respond to that, but we're going to spend millions, and we already know that we're trending down in revenue. So we're going to get the camel's nose under the tent and start to build out our infrastructure for the fire department, and that's going to cost us millions going forward over time. No one's looked at that. What's that going to look like in 2 years, 3 years? Yeah, you're going to sell a truck and get a grant. That'll get you off and running the first year. What about year 2 through 5? What's that spreadsheet look like? And what are the costs going with that? And the build out. Saw on there, as little as I saw, it's going to take 4 years to build that out anyway. So I don't think that's a good way to go. Gary's point is a good example. Why are we spending all this money on things we don't even know what we're spending money on? We don't know what we're bidding. We don't know what we're looking at. I mean, it's a great question. You're rubber stamping stuff that you need to really dive in and get the details. So do your due diligence. Do what the people put you here to do, because as we just found out with the sheriff's department, elections have consequences. E-units went bye-bye. I don't think they would have went bye-bye with his opponent. They might have been enhanced.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure, I'll come up and talk for a second. Jared DeWitt, 1147 Maplewood Drive. Chief's son, I'd just like to give a thank you to both of our chiefs tonight for all the work they've put into everything they've done. I know you guys have a very large decision, as John's mentioned. You have a lot to consider. I'd like to thank you guys all for your time, for listening to everything. As a resident, I wouldn't like to see any cuts in the police services. We need them just as much as we need our firefighters. So I'd like to advocate, if it includes a millage rate increase, if it includes a looking to the public to vote on it, put a public safety millage out there, I'd love to see that, because our public safety is important. I'm with the City of Wyoming Fire Department. Very happy there. I have nothing to gain by Georgetown going full-time, but as a part-paid firefighter, you guys alluded maybe earlier, it might kind of put the part paid down if we hire full-time. I don't see that. I think whoever the Chiefs pick, I would trust their decision in hiring. And I think who they hire would work well with the part paid. They can integrate together. I think that'd be very beneficial for our community to see that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Others? Seeing none, we'll close the second public comment period. Discussion and general information among the board. I know you might have had things and you're thinking maybe the better part of discretion is to hold back.
Exactly.
Here's one point of discussion. Do we want to take the utilities meeting that's scheduled for immediately after this and have a special meeting called as soon as possible, like a week from now, and dispense with having you stay till midnight? Or what do you have a preference about that? Those of you who are on that committee, I don't know how you feel about it or what you've got that's pressing, but
We really don't have that much on it. Not really.
Say, push, if it's okay with the
I
committee.
think we
your
can do-
point is it will go quickly, or your
Yeah.
point is, hey, let's bump?
It will.
It'll go quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
I'm okay with that. I've got a lot to say, though. I thought the discussion was great tonight. It was open, and there's different points of view. Strong.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a
I
motion?
can't help myself from saying one final thing.
Yeah,
Bill. I just, on the options for funding, I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that the option number 5 was like drain the rainy day fund. But to me, option number 6 is just reapportion the budget. I think that the road resurfacing fund or road resurfacing projects that we've taken on is one of the best comparisons. We took that on because, and it's not a statutory requirement, we took it on because another agency who is responsible for the roads in our community wasn't doing the job. So we felt obligated to take that on. We spent $2 million on something that's not our responsibility. And I just don't think $1.2 million for something that is very much our responsibility should be seen as something we're going to sort of, as difficult to wrap our arms around when we pat ourselves on the back for spending that $2 million because we do such a great job keeping the roads up in our township. I think we should be justified in being as equally as excited to spend money on our fire department or EMS. However, whatever you want to do, I just don't want to lose sight of how we are currently spending our money and how that makes us feel to do a good job on one thing versus another.
I don't think we're patting ourselves on the back for our road resurfacing. We've done much more than $2 million in a given year. We see it as something that is an important.
I'm not saying that
residents,
it's
yeah.
not important. I'm just saying that we say that it's important, and I'm saying that I would hope that spending money on this is not even just equally more important to us as we look at our budget.
I wish we had grabbed that $500,000 away from Ottawa County back in 2014 when they proposed it, and that we had that $500,000, but we didn't. And then they just renewed it And I look at Parsons, and it's disgusting. And it's one of their roads, and we're begging them to fix it, and it's not getting fixed. If we had that $500,000, it'd be fixed.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?